think I can reach it if I just a little more. Just let me go a little. I can't. Just a little more. I almost got it. Careful! Oh God! No, come on, just reach. Just grab my hand. I can't hold it. Grab my hand.
Give me the meat stick. This other hand's closer. The one with the stick is. Oh.
What am I supposed to say?
It doesn't matter. His daddy ain't listening to you anyway.
I'm hungry.
No. Put it away. I can't watch it. Oh, crap. Just reach in. You gotta pull it. Just grab it. Just take it out of his hand. What do you mean you can't?
He won't let go.
What do you mean he won't let go? He's dead.
Help me. Get in there.
No, just hold on.
Make him let go of it. No, I got you. Just go in for a hug. Go and get on in there. It's a bad loss. Yeah, hug him up. Just reach. Hug him up.
He's breathing.
On the other side.
Go.
I can't do it.
Help me, Lord. Help me get over this loss.
I can't breathe.
Yeah, I can't breathe. I'm so upset. I can't breathe. Stop. You knock on wood so they go to heaven. It's like a lucky.
Hey, get the stick.
Yeah. Hey, did you get the meat stick?
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, just hold tight for a second. They're moving the casket. Just hold tight.
Yeah, that's no worries. I got it.
Oh, what an awesome day for a pump, dude.
Yeah, I gotta take it easy. Doc says if I exert myself, I will die.
You overexert yourself, you will die.
I'll tell you what, you finish the workout, all these could be yours. That looks good. A little bit of honey ham for the ham. Get after it, and that's get after it, and that's your treat. Hey, do the exercise, do the work, then you get the reward. That's how this works, man. You gotta give it max effort, maximum effort. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Big hams. Make it work, those hams. Work them. Putting in the work. Yeah, baby. Yes. Dude, this is a spicy workout. Gotta make it worth it. Building the beef and bringing home the bacon, baby. I'm loving it. Teriyaki is just about within your reach. Come on, get you some. Come on. Ooh, ooh. Maximum effort. Maximum effort. You're there. You're almost there.
That's so worth it.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days ago.
Dog been digging in there?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Oh! Yeah, there's something in there.
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
The Nationals continues here with our upper finals here for the Div 2 side of League of Legends, and I could not be more excited. As you can hear, I'm out of breath. I was running around. I was getting ready for all this because I didn't really think that we would see some of the teams here today. Actually, I did, because we have uOttawa Gray coming in here, going up against UCSC Black in an attempt to make it to that grand finals berth, have a little bit of a coast watching the lower bracket run. My name is Orbital. With me is the best being to ever wander off the rift. It is Random Minion Caster, and we will be your casters for this broadcast. RMC, how you doing?
Well, Orbital, doing good, and I'm hyped as well, because it's not the grand finals, but it's the next best thing right now. It's the winners finals. That means both the teams here right now have not lost a series yet, and let's talk about the two teams, because one of these two teams hasn't even dropped a game so far in the Div 2 Nationals, and that is uOttawa Gray coming in as second seed, which was really impressive when you consider who the first seed was. It was uOttawa Garnet. So both the uOttawa teams came in. uOttawa Gray with Ichiroy the GOAT in the top lane, Casey Karkarol in the jungle, 5 on the vid, or 5e in the mid lane, Jenny, formerly 42-year-old dad, as their AD carry, and Kaztek as their support. I believe 5e and Kaztek actually had a role swap. The last time we saw them, Kaztek was mid and 5e was support.
And the thing is, it's worked very well for them. Just that little adjustment saying, hey, let's bring our mid down to the support. We've heard, some fun stories about that, but we've seen roster swap just about everywhere. And one team that can say that more than anyone else is the UCSC Black squad. The Slugs on the other side right now rocking Dash Zero in the top side, Obtainable Turtle in the jungle, Keon in the mid lane, Serpent Shadow in the ADC, and Kiniryu, who is their coach, captain as well as their support. One of the big things about that is this team has had a lot of shakeups, and their run here to the Div 2 national side has been nothing short of a challenge.
Yeah, and we're talking about, roster swaps coming through for uOttawa Gray. It was kind of just a role swap between two of their starting players. But for UCSC Black, they've had almost a roster rotation. The only remaining two players from the beginning of the split, with Serpent Shadow and Kinuryu, Dash Zero, Obtainable Turtle, and Keon have kind of been playing a bit more recently in the nationals since we kind of started that, and a lot of it's classes and whatnot, so the team has had to change up. The roster as a whole, though, or the school, the org, has had other shakeups, though, coming through, because UCSC is qualifying in based on solely fall points. In fall, they played in Div 2 West, and they finished top 2. In spring, they did play, but not in Div 2. They actually played in Div 1. So I think it says a lot about how strong this team is, that they did get promoted up to Div 1, and now they're here in Div 2 Nationals. To get here, they actually had to beat uOttawa Garnet last week, though the sister team of uOttawa Gray, and now they're looking for the sister team kill.
Yep, that is one way to make your way to the grand finals, by the way, because you take a look at what uOttawa Gray has had, and they're a squad. I mean, they're a school that has been around for quite some time. Same with UCSC, don't get me wrong, but I mean, whenever you have two teams here in a bracket, especially for a nationals berth, it's kind of a storyline that's made in the heavens, just like, hey, let's get both squads into the grand finals. Let's really have, an all-encompassing, hey, we have that role. So to have a little bit of revenge and maybe knock down UCSC Black to the bottom side, or in reverse, be able to knock down both squads and say, hey, we are the reigning champs, and not only that, prove that the rocky road that you got here is still on a path to victory, I think says something about the Slugs. I'm very, very excited because both teams have also expressed some interest in some heavy fighting in the top lane. Dash Zero as well as ET. You and I have been casting for a while. We used to talk about top lane being an island, just put tanks up there, whatever. It sounds like there's going to be a little bit of blood in the water there as well.
Fair enough. I do think it's still an island, just one with a lot more physical activities, if you will, up there. And it's really interesting, too, why the top lane kind of got highlighted for UCSC Black, because of all the roster changes that came through for them. They wouldn't say they have a particularly defined style at this point in time, so a lot of it is just mechanical. And Dash Zero is a very strong mechanical player, so he does tend to win out the 1v1s against a lot of his opponents. For uOttawa Gray, E.G. Roy, he's a bit more of an interesting guy, right? Because they have played together as a team. In the mid to late game, a lot of times we do see them playing more standard team fights, where Jenny gets to kind of shine a little bit more as the AD carry. But the last time we got to see uOttawa Gray on stream was early in the season up against Drexel Dragons, and ET just took over the game. Like, he just went on some carries, got some kills, and it wasn't about the rest of the map 5v5ing. It just came all about ET Roy split pushing, proxying under turret for a good chunk of those games. So with the mechanical skill we're seeing from both these top laners, I expect there to be action. Proxies, kills, turret taking, split pushing, anything goes up there.
And remember, this is a fearless draft situation as well. So both ET as well as Dash Zero only get one chance really with maybe some of their signature champions. And not just the top lane, all the lanes in general. You mentioned before that for UCSC, the slugs down there on the bottom side, you're looking at the faces of Serpent Shadow and Kiniryu, who are seemingly going, hey, you know, we've been here for quite some time. Throughout all the hustle and bustle, through all the ups and downs, we have stayed a very steady process. And you're going up against the likes of Caustic as well as Jenny, who, again, Caustic coming in as a mid laner formally. Yes, of course, I'm sure they've kind of mixed in very well, but there has to be some pride on the line saying, listen, we've been here for UCSC. We've been here, and we will show that we're the more experienced duo.
Yeah, and Serpent Shadow and Kiniryu have been winning most of their 2v2s, coming out with leads, and that transitions well into the mid game when it comes to fighting. It's interesting as well that Serpent Shadow has been playing things like Smolder and Jinx as well throughout the spring split. Champions that often actually kind of need a front line, and you need to trust your team, and I think that speaks a lot to their captain Kiniryu and what he's able to do to provide that safety and security. That bot lane is the rock of this team. So yeah, going up against, you know, Jenny and now Kaztech role swapping. It's funny too, because the last time I got some Kaztech, I was told he's a Victor main, and he was actually a Victor main even before the whole arcane changes and everything came through for Victor. So he was a little bit sad about the changes that came through for Victor, and I guess maybe it's sad enough to have pushed him out of mid lane and into support, because Victor cannot be played support. So yeah, that's definitely not happening. I'm very curious to see how his champ pool actually works out. In pro play, it's not uncommon to see mid laners end up transitioning into support later on, but usually that happens more in enchanter metas, and I feel like we're still largely in engaged meta. So tanks, bruisers, things like that, not things that mid laners often play or have, you know, the experience to really transition to a support role with.
Yeah, of course, on the same vein, you're talking about Keon and in that mid lane saying, hey, you know, it's not always the enchanters. That's where we see the swaps. Keon specifically maybe likes a little bit more of the attack heavy side of things. Loves playing the Yone, loves playing a little bit more lane dominance in there, tries to look for those kills just as well. Maybe just not as hard as Dash Zero on the top side, but whenever you have a Yone or an Akali or anything of that nature, it always does kind of catch my eye if they're given that breadth of opportunity, especially on an upper finals match, especially on such a very important stage like this, where you do need that early game. You do want those early victories and not have to fall to the lower bracket.
Yeah, and when you play those sort of melee mid laners that often do get those sort of assassin-esque styles or highlight reel-worthy plays, it's always really, really fun to watch. But we do see a lot of times in competitive, in comp play, when you do have a lot of practice with your team, mid laners often kind of get relegated to team fight mages rather than these sort of showy mid laners. And with both Dashero and Keon being able to play those sort of champions, I'm actually really curious if UCSC Black ends up favoring more split pushing tactics versus team fighting tactics to come through, and how that would mesh with Serpent Shadow and Kiniryu, because like we talked about, Serpent Shadow has been playing things like Jinx, like Smolder, Varus as well, which is more meta, but all kind of immobile champions that do require a bit more of a front line.
It's one of those things, as a mid laner myself, it hurts. I used to play competitive for a very, very long time, a very long period of 2 months and 2 weeks. I counted specifically. It was a great time. But it's true. You do play what you need for the team, and the fact that Keon is also stepping in here, as we mentioned, a little bit of turbulent regular season. I'm excited to see what they can bring out. Maybe they are given a little bit more room, and instead, after we see maybe Dash Zero say, hey, I can't carry, or if Dash Zero says, I can carry, and let's just go ham and see how many highlights we can make, that might be a turn of their own. But you are running into 5e in that mid lane on the other side, and for uOttawa Gray, I'll be very curious to see how that punches out. Just as much as we're talking about the assassins, a lot of those bruises in the mid lane, for 5e, the exact transition moving into that mid lane, I'm sure has done very well for them. But they play things like Pyke, like these a little bit over-aggressive supports, and then you also have an Mbessa, I believe, in the solo queue Rocket. You play things like the Aurora, like the Jace, like Yone. You randomly have a Galio in there, but I mean, this feels like a very fun individual matchup for 5e to just go, we can have some fun as well, depending on what we want to play.
I'm just saying, Pyke mid existed. It exists in the same sphere as River Shen, but okay, it existed. It was a thing.
It did, but there's a reason we don't see it anymore. You know, don't bring that out here.
Yeah, it's because mid laners nowadays, you know, they don't have the same guts to play a Pyke in the mid lane. No, I'm kidding. But
straight up boomer lol right there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sorry. Call
I
me
remember
40-year-old
back in
dad,
my
I
day,
guess.
I had knives, I had trackers, I had a lantern in there. What is going on? Back in my day, we didn't have all these pots and everything like that. No, we did actually.
We had more
them.
pots, actually. We had blue pots, but...
Yeah, we actually did. What
Yeah,
was that, the 4-pot meta? Oh my gosh.
I don't hate that 5E's kind of switching into the mid lane because he was supposed to be that hyper-aggressive support. You mentioned things like Pyke. That's something that wants to make action happen. And I feel up against Keon, if Keon wants to play aggressive, get something that can match Keon in that mid lane. Get a player who's willing to kind of go toe-to-toe with him. Funnily enough, when I was first introduced to 5E, when I first spoke to Yati, the sort of coach for this team, he kind of told me that he's kind of like a Healasang style support, like very, very active, looking for engages. At that time, Healasang had the second highest deaths in the LEC, averaging about 4.6. I just checked. Healasang is still averaging 4.3 and is still the second highest deaths of all supports. Now, hopefully that doesn't transition into mid, because if you die a lot in the mid lane, especially to somebody like Keon who likes to play assassins,
Yes.
that's bad news.
It's extremely bad news. So we already get into this ban phase for game number 1, and this is going to be a different turn. As we just mentioned, talking about 5E in that mid lane, a little bit of shit, has a nasty Zoe, has been playing in solo queue, so an immediate ban out there, don't want to deal with it. The Echo and the Shen, though, these are very interesting to watch for, because Dash Zero and Attainable Turtle are specifically good at utilizing both those champions. As we mentioned, Dash Zero being a great dueler. Shen, to me, is one of the scariest, kind of underrated picks in a island mentality that can or cannot get into your face and get very, very annoying. So I love that ban.
Why island when river? No, I'm just kidding. Again, River Shen, not actually
literally any other lane that you decide to ult to. Literally any other lane.
No, that is 100% targeted at Dash Zero, and I really like that takeaway as well, because I feel like those are champions that people don't often play against in solo queues, so you might not be as familiar with how to necessarily play around their unique mechanics, whether it be the Chrono Break of Echo, or, you know, Shen's ultimate being able to kind of shield somebody. And we just talked about how Serpent Shadow likes it when he gets extra shields, extra bodies, extra peel. Shen is perfect for that. For UCSC, the Fiddlesticks ban is an interesting one. I wasn't quite expecting that, and I'm actually really curious if that's targeted at Karkarol in the jungle, or whether it might even be at Kaztek in the support role, because Karkarol has some weird jungle picks, including Shaco. He's very well known for solo queue Shaco specifically.
All I can see is TFT some more. That I hate Fiddlesticks and TFT. If you ever play TFT, do not watch a Bruiser Fiddlesticks any day of the week. We are getting into the ADCs though. Okay. We're seeing the likes of the Varus as well as the Ezreal. These two make sense. However, what's surprising is both Nefiri as well as Gwen are currently open. And of course, I know these aren't in the big wheelhouses, but they're still power picks for a reason. And the fact that they're being left open for free like this, I'm curious if they're going to come out here in game 1.
Yeah, as you mentioned, they're not really in the wheelhouse of these players necessarily. I'm not seeing too much of it in their solo queue or the champion history, so I'm not expecting that to be really high prio. I do like the more targeted approach we're seeing in the ban so far. For Slugs, though, Ezreal, Braum being picked up, we talked about this bot lane, the other solid rock. This is a rock solid bot lane, right? Ezreal, very mobile, doesn't need too much peel. Braum is the best sort of Warden style support, where he is a bruiser but peels away, and that's just solid. And now, you know, for Dash Zero, for Turtle, for Keon, they can pick whatever they want, and this comp would probably still work.
uOttawa Grey kind of doing the same with the Rakan lock in with the Varus and the Xin Zhao. This builds a very nice kind of front to back piece. I can see the dash in as well, the double dash, and now even more safety on the side of the Slugs. This is UCSC just going, hey, we're giving all the safety to whoever we so wish, and also matching. So this is going to be a top mid ban phase coming in here for ban phase 2.
Yeah, for both of these teams. So both teams will get one of the counter picks and one of the solo lanes. For Slugs, usually when we see the Ivern, we see a lot of teams like to run double 80 carries. So things like Tristana, which is of course banned, as you can see. Things like Corki could be played as well. But as we mentioned, Keon is more of a melee style player. So I'm actually expecting to see double melee, double bruisers, divers who can go into the back line coming through for the side of Slugs. I'd like to see a hyper carry though to come through for them. Ivern works really, really well with hyper carries. The amount of shields and disruption he can give, it also kind of bridges you through the early game, so you don't need that much early strength in the lanes. When you've got something like an Ivern, you can kind of pick 3 losing lanes with the Ivern and skill up. For the side though of uOttawa Grey, I'm expecting more team fighting right now. The Xin Zhao doesn't quite match that profile, but with the Varus, with the Rakan, I want to see like a bit more engaged to follow up with that Rakan. So in the top lane, maybe something like a Scion to come through. You know, in the mid lane potentially for 5e. I think just anything with AoE like a Victor would work for him.
Well, the thing is, the Scions banned away. Same with the Kleds, so no real team fight in that angle of the sort. But those melee assassins that you were talking about, uOttawa Gray were also eyeing that, saying, hey, we don't want to give the slugs that. They actually banned out the Yone and then marched in with the Rumble ban as well. But here in the top side, we now get to see those bruisers, as we mentioned. The Renekton versus the Gnar both matching into kind of their respective roles here. A little bit early pressure here for the slugs as they said, hey, we don't want 3 losing lanes. Let's go ahead and get a little bit early game in there with the Renekton. Now a blind pick Hui coming out, which would be, in my opinion, a little bit gutsy, but I like it. 5e saying, I'm going to play that backline access. I'm going to make sure to help out my team in the all-around encompassing act, but it does leave open Keon for a very aggressive Sylas, which I personally love.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe double bruisers, things that are a bit tankier can really take advantage of the Ivern, and something that scales, right? I was thinking more in the top lane, perhaps, but it's coming out the mid lane, and I really like it. Sylas has a lot of good ultimates that he can steal away as well from the side of uOttawa. It kind of fits what UCSC, I think, is most comfortable with playing. Sort of double bruiser plus a really safe bot lane to be able to play through. uOttawa with the Hui. The Gnar I really like, especially with the Renekton coming on the other side. Gnar often considered a more comfortable lane where you can space really, really well. Ironically, for somebody called Dash Zero, Renekton has multiple dashes, but even with multiple dashes, it's hard to actually stick onto Gnar. His dash alone is often, or his hop is often enough to kind of get out of danger. My big concern for them is 5e on this Hui. Hui as a blind pick is fine. It's good. But the Sylas is kind of scary. You're going to win out lane early on. You're absolutely going to be able to abuse him. But Sylas will outscale you. And I'm kind of looking at the Ivern as well, thinking, okay, the Hui later on, Severing Bolt is kind of what he's known for, that long-range poke to hit the back line. Ezreal is really mobile. And with the Ivern, if he gets the shields right, he can negate a lot of that poke to come through. So my eyes is kind of on 5e and how he's going to be able to pilot out the mid to late game with the champion.
I would almost assume that Karkle might be joining in that mid lane a little bit more. I mean, at this point, whenever you blind pick away, to me, it always signals, hey, maybe I'm going to be a little bit more support. And especially once you see the matchup, you got to have the wheels spinning. You got to be saying, hey, we got to change things up. So let's go ahead and dive in and see if our expectations are correct. Game number 1 of the upper bracket finals here, winners finals, if you will, for the Division 2 chance to move into the grand finals of Nationals. uOttawa Gray versus UCSC Black.
And the potential revenge match starts. I mean, for UCSC to be able to take out both first and second seed is going to be really nice for them. And in a way, it might surprise a lot of teams because, again, your seeding was decided by points. And therefore, UCSC not having played Spring in Div 2, their points looks a little bit lower. People might consider Dark Horse. That's because you didn't know this team and you didn't know enough about them. As for uOttawa, I know that the Grey team has mentioned before that they would like a uOttawa Grand Finals. They'd like a Civil War right at the end of it. This is double elimination, so Garnet can still play through the lower bracket. But the only way they can meet in the Grand Finals is if uOttawa take out UCSC in the upper bracket and are waiting for Garnet in that upper bracket.
I mean, in that fashion as well, there's a little bit of history back there. I'm sure if I'm sitting there saying, you know, hey, for Garnet's side, you're a little bit upset about how that matchup went down. We had gotten some word that the matchup itself was maybe not up to as much snuff as Garnet would have liked, especially as a first seed squad.
Well, call it what you will, right? UCSC feel confident they took out the first seed. They're taking out, now facing a second seed. They won the first time, they can win the second time. But uOttawa Gray says that, well, uOttawa Garnet ran a sub 80 carry. And it was a 2-1 series. So Slugs narrowly won that. We could beat them if we've got our starting roster. And that's what makes this game 1 super interesting, because both teams feel like they should have the advantage. Both teams have reason to feel that they're the better team coming into this. And this will be our first glance at how they're actually going to match up. It's going to be the first glance for both these teams on how they are going to be matching up on the Earth as well.
It's always an interesting time whenever we have a situation like this. As you said, first time quite literally here from Spring 2025 in as Caustic and Keon, of course, dueling it out. As you mentioned, Sylas loving to kind of jump into the fray once level 2, level 3 hits, and is already trying to force Caustic out. This is... I love the fact that you pointed out that it's such a dangerous matchup because Caustic, I mean, it's such a give and take every single time. It's can you land the combo from the Sylas? Are you able to get the damage down? And Caustic is like, how far can I dip and dodge and not get hit by the chain? Already, though, we're seeing a dance here as Karkle has already completed their bot side turn, and Caustic is trying to bait out a little bit of a chance, and they have. That's a great fear, though. Flash as Keon tries to run in, but Caustic did that so well. We saw that quite a ways away. Now on the top side, ET having some some trouble, as that's a chomp and a half, as the Slugs are able to get revenge thanks to the top lane.
Yeah, really well mechanically played from both these solo laners right now. Karkro might be in a bit of trouble. So TP's coming in and he's slowed right up.
And then there's a little bit of a dash right now. Keon might be able to get the chains down if you can, but Karkro as well underneath the tower. I almost thought Karkro would turn in and just see what happens, but no, you have no HP to play with. So safe underneath the tower. Obtainable turtle, though. If you get a blind Q, you can use the bush instead, but you realize that you have no HP of your own. Karkro hops over and says, I am cutting down a tree.
And it really feels like both these teams as well, game one, they are so confident, and that's why we're seeing all this scrapping happen across all three lanes, even in the bot lane as well. Sure, the health bars are higher in the bot lane, but you saw Kiniryu hopping in as a Braum. Like, that's a defensive support, and he's willing to just hop in there and try and make action happen because he wants to throw hands. Now, with everything kind of having broken out the way it has, let's take a quick look at how the solo lanes kind of went. In the mid lane, Keon running the Doran's ring instead of shield is an interesting one because that says that I want kills, and he almost found the kill. Dashiro's not going to find anything here. Yeah, Keon actually traded really, really well, and it's only because Karkro was ready and waiting. And look what happens. They've got 5Vs back on support. Kaztek is the one in the mid lane. This is not what we were expecting. We should note that.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a shift in what we originally thought. We were getting information, and right now maybe Kaztek is actually getting a chance to rotate in. I'm so sorry that I didn't know your game as already this having strike jumps on down dash 0, not having the fun that you thought you were. Quick double dash out, but a nice stab allows Karkro to jump on in. And it looks like there might be another knockup in the eyes as 5e doesn't want to take that chance. So Dash 0 and Obtainable Turtle are able to get out to safety.
Yeah, not enough slows left. The red buff did wear off of Karkro there, so they weren't able to chase in. In the top side, though, we did see Dash 0 get the solo onto ET. We were told keep an eye out for that, but I do want to highlight the CS differential. Despite the fact that Dash 0 gets the kill in the top lane, it's not for his blood, and he's still suffering in lane. Most importantly, he's suffering XP, so he's down levels, and that just means ET gets to continue abusing top lane. Jenny has to flash to safety, but will be safe. I'm going to be honest, I don't actually think Jenny needs to recall. He's got 2 biscuits in inventory, and 5e's about to get there. With Varus, he can just kind of play from range, play for poke, and just play safe.
I mean, that's one of those pieces just like, hey, you know, I'm going to do it just to maintain my safety with my HP, and I can respect the flash. You also have Barrier to play with, but Serpent Shadow and Kiniryu both trying to do some work here. As you mentioned, though, Kaztek, what we thought was originally going to be a bot side, gets their ult stolen. Keon just kind of throwing that one out there, gets the reset down very quickly. Now we get to see a move down on the bot side. Obtainable Turtle hasn't been really looking at those global objectives yet as they just come up. We have an Infernal Dragon for the start with the Grubs coming up in just about 3 seconds. So all the junglers getting into the mix, having a bit of fun.
Good dodge away from 5e, no worries whatsoever. And Obtainable Turtle, with this Ivern, has actually been surprisingly aggressive in the early game. A lot of times we just see them power farm till 6. And we see the reason why, right? Ivern doesn't have enough damage to actually kind of secure kills. You're just playing defensively. But he's, I think, playing so aggressively because his lanes are playing so aggressively. Every time we look in the mid lane, every time we look in the top side, Dash 0 is pushing out ET in the top side, hunting for kills outright. And even here, even in Mega, I'm kind of scared that Dash 0 might look for the engagement, might actually have some sort of kill threat.
Well, at the moment, we're seeing the threat of the dragon be taken, which is vastly different than what we thought. Serpent Shadow, well, maybe not so outside, but Obtainable Turtle and Serpent Shadow starting that one up nice and cleanly. Keon going back, holding the wave, but this does allow a little bit of push in by 3. Jenny is nowhere near rotating, though, so Karkro would most likely be setting a blind steal attempt. Over the wall, you see it. Are you going to look at the stab? It gets a good tag, but the smite from Obtainable Turtle is much better.
Yeah, I'm really quite surprised uOttawa Gray didn't really look to try and contest that. I think the bushes that Obtainable Turtle put down did a fantastic job, making uOttawa Gray just hesitate on whether or not they wanted to engage, despite the apparent strength that they did have. It's worth noting as well, Kaztek was out of mana on that particular play, so he's a body, but he's not one that's going to be able to meaningfully contribute. And UCSC going to be very happy to pick that one up and kind of equalize how the early game has gone a little bit.
The early game has kind of shaken out in a comfortable position. You take a look at the gold, it's been about 300-400. There hasn't been any major shakeups. You know, uOttawa Gray, they're sitting there like, hey, we have a decent set on the kills already. All we need is one more, and we can maybe look at getting that feat under our belt. At the same time, top side, ET for their own, still up in CS, but just trying to do a little extra work. Obtainable Turtle, though, finding Kaztek inside of that river, getting some good damage down, but Dash Steel in the vicinity. But man, that burn, the Painter making sure the tree feels it. Jenny, though, throwing out a Chain of Corruption, missing, but Kiniryu and Serpent Shadow not having the HP to play against that ultimate less Jenny.
They're thinking about it, and Kiniryu being level 5, having that level lead on 5e might be important as well. He's far away from hitting that level 6. Oh no, never mind. He was right there at level 6. I thought it was a ways to go. So that's why they're playing aggressive, because if they can actually go in with that ultimate, maybe they can burst down one of them quickly enough. They do have to be careful though. If they miss the engage, they don't have much health. And Jenny has shown that he's more than willing to kind of find that engage and punish.
Daisy gonna go ahead and be popped out here as that's gonna be an attack on Jenny. Jenny
find
getting
it.
knocked out with the close vision. Remember, there's nothing else to play for, and that's just a kill. Clean as can be. Jumping forward though as we jump over to the mid lane. Carcrow realizing that they're cut here in the middle. Keon thrown down with a lot of HP though. What a knock of another catch as the Cousin Guard original comes out. Carcrow gonna try and stay safe, but again, the Cousin Guard only blocks projectiles. You barely get away thanks to your flash, but a danger was abound in both mid and bot, which does leave the Slugs to go ahead and pick up a kill down there.
Okay, UCSC, they are playing on a fine line. I love the aggression they're willing to put out, right? Like, bot side was a high-risk, medium-reward play, and they just went for it. They were that confident. It absolutely cashed out. Even in the jungle as well, I love how aggressively they're still willing to play. Keon taking a bunch of damage, but does have the flash to get out.
And both supports are actually joining in here in the mid lane, saving their mid laners respectively. As Keon was hoping to actually finish off some of the kills that they weren't able to get earlier, already sitting at 0-1 and 0, but has that has a little bit of the catalyst, wants to start accelerating that route of ages as soon as possible.
So who's getting saved right now between Keon and Kazak? Keon's walking out with
I've
lower
given up
health.
on trying to figure out. I've honestly given up considering how many times we see them on like under 25% HP.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to say I think Keon's winning out. I know he's walking away with less health, but he scales better in this 1v1. And right now he's doing this without offensive items. Kiniryu just walking up there, just being an absolute menace and trying to slow down Kaztek as much as possible. I want to highlight too, while all this has happened, by the way, Grubs has spawned. uOttawa Grey pushed out UCSC earlier, but it hasn't taken advantage of it.
Uh-oh. Well, you know what is being taken advantage of is the absolute range that ET has. Last auto can go down, but flash for flash as ET flashed the wrong way. That feels so bad. Man, I thought that kill was going to go down, but my eyes are getting old here.
Might yet.
Of course, 5e, though, saying, hello, I found your body. That will be a kill for their own. Jenny even surviving on the bot side without burning a single summoner spell is a win in and of itself. So uOttawa Grey grabbing 3, and not only that, grabbing some grubs on the far end as well.
It's funny because I talk about how UCSC is playing really aggressively. They're playing on knife's edge effectively, and they're making the plays work out. uOttawa Grey are actually making safer plays on paper, but it's looking like they're playing on a knife's edge. And I think that's credit to UCSC and how they're playing it. But uOttawa, yeah, they're making sure they don't fall behind. Kiniryu eating a bunch of damage right now. Can he get to safety? A hop away. Can Kaztek clear the wave? Not fast enough.
That's dangerous as that's going to be a flash in. And Kazek is just going to go sniping. Doesn't even need it. Burns down the likes of Kiniryu. And Kazek saying, yo, I know I might have been listed as a support, but watch my mid lane fly. That is some nasty work there. And Kazek, 1-0 and 2.
Is 5e hunting?
Oh,
5e already found one kill up top. He's got Ignite.
Does he got the tag? Oh, just a little bit slow. I was wondering if we were going to see the Severing Bolt come down, and Kosik was like, I don't have the cooldowns just yet.
Yeah, and with the Ignite, I was thinking, yeah, 5e can do this. 5e can hop in. Even though they don't secure the kill, they're going to be able to get a bunch of plates on this bot side as well with the wave pushing in. And uOttawa Grey just walking away with more and more advantages. It was a 300-400 gold difference for most of the early game. But fast forward to 10 minutes, and suddenly we've blown it up to about 1,500.
Yeah, I mean, you called it, right? uOttawa Grey, they're playing such what feels like a very safe game, and I'm inclined to almost say clinical at this point, but it still needs a little bit more time. I still need to see a little bit more force coming out of them. I want to see what they can do when they are actively pushing a lot of time. But as you called, again, very safe play. They're taking these safe routes and being comfortable with it. Kosik, of course, recalling on top of ward might not be the easiest way to play, so instead went down and cleared that ward out.
Wow.
That's going to be a chance that Serpent Shadow was able to kill 5e off of a little bit of aggressive push, and Jenny just wasn't there in time, which now leads to the dragon being taken by the Slugs, and they're going to be able to go up 2 dragons to 0.
I feel like 5e was trying to replicate what Kiniryu did earlier with the dashing forward using the ultimate, but Braum is a lot tankier than Rakan in the early game. And Serpent Shadow didn't even have to build flash or barrier. Just straight up Mystic Shot, auto attack, and 5e was dead before Jenny could kind of get in there. A little bit of a mistake, and that opens the door a little bit for UCSC to get back in. You talk about the gold difference, it shrunk ever so slightly, but those dragons stacking up I think are going to be huge. It doesn't show in the gold differential, but Ocean is a really nice one to pick up, and Inferno solo doesn't feel that meaningful, but given how close the margins have been on these fights, it might actually swing a fight or two.
Wow, and I mean we saw it right there, right? 5e walked straight in, and it gives Slug such an advantage to actually push this out. True Shot Barrage gonna almost destroy, and does. 5e in now gets Carcarol completely caught out. That's off the back of a good invade from Team Little Turtles. That's a shutdown over to Serpent Shadow's hands.
Carcarol didn't even Crescent Guard. Like he thought they were going to be able to get out, walk that one out, and didn't disengage into them. And UCSC, okay, that gold lead is basically gone at this point, able to punch back. And for uOttawa Gray, hey, all that good early setup needs to be able to pay off onto something. Topside though, ET still holding the dominant part of this top lane. Drops a ward this time, so he can actually right click, but instantly gets cleared by Dash Thrower.
I also love the fact that Slugs in that jungle chase were able to filter a lot of these kills into Serpent Shadow. Serpent Shadow is going to be that late game menace. ET on the top side gonna bait out that Dominus and maybe be able to walk away. They're just trying to bait out that timer. That's gonna be a good stun with a double slap in the back. However, the HP bars are getting low below. Another stun. Rock is picked up. One more slam as ET wins out that 1v1. Just as I was talking about Serpent Shadow, another carry on the top side as ET is looking to beef up.
I love it for top laners. There's that moment where they realize we're not going to win this fight. But they've committed too much, and they just go like, okay, all in, and we'll try and finish this. I do want to highlight as well, by the way, Carcarol was already moving to that top side, so that fight extended. Carcarol would have been able to win it. The Engage coming through with a TP to back up.
And not just that, the Chain of Corruption is being able to land, and the power TP means Cossack is here. At least they'll be able to grab Kaniru. But Serpent Shadow is currently alone. Remember, Serpent Shadow is strong. Doesn't get to take out 5e, though. Finally burns it. Jumps in. Barrier is used, but that's still a double for Serpent Shadow. Serpent Shadow looking for the triple, not going to find it. Cossack shuts that down, but that was a play by uOttawa. That Slugs are able to turn to a 2-2 total.
Yeah, that's a huge win for UCSC. They were already going to lose first brick on that top side anyways, but to answer back with the gank, it buys Keon so much time to shove into that mid lane as well. Pick up a bunch of CS, maybe get some plates as well. Obtainable turtle. Steals one of the grubs, and he's going to get the other two too.
I love it so much. You know that that's all you were really planning for, and for the Slugs, you deterred a lot was going down on the bot side. All of a sudden, we're seeing Cossack lose a beat. Keon now wants an advantage of their own, stole the Gnar ult, slammed everyone into the wall, trying to spin for glory, but the Prisoner needs to get out of dodge very quickly. Dash Zero dashing into the back line, able to slash out, gets a kill, doesn't have Dominus, but doesn't need it. As the Glacial Fisher lands on everyone, Slugs are going to run rampant now, as the pathway for uOttawa Gray is paths in ice, and they are slipping all over the place. Dash Zero will go down, but it's a small price to pay for a 3-1 battle in enemy side jungle.
The Grubs live, Orbital. They are the big winners right now. Only the one stolen away. Now, while all this was happening, Cossack did... Oh, they didn't live because they despawned. It's Herald respawned. Okay. No, that's fine. They lived a full life. And Herald Shelly is now onto the Rift as well.
A full 5-minute life, by the way. That's what we call a life here.
True. I wish we had the... Okay, we do have the Grub counters, so the 3 Grub... Do we have grub counters? Yeah, we do. So uOttawa has 3. Yeah, Slugs got 1. So 2 of them survived and had a nice full life. I did want to highlight as well, uOttawa, Cossack specifically did get the bot side turret, and that's what's giving this gold lead to uOttawa Gray right now. They've had better rotations, they've been having better set plays, and UCSC is as competitive as they are off the skirmishes and the scraps. And I want to see more of that from UCSC right now. I love that they're finding it, but a lot of it is uOttawa setting up right now.
I also love this this build path from Attainable Turtle. Normally we see something like a redemption very early, right? But we don't see that. I forgot what item that is. The name escapes me right now, but having ability haste plus burn under Daisy is one of the rudest force guardians I think I've ever seen, and I love it so much. We'll see it right there. Yeah, there it is. It is the Malignance, right? Yeah. This is, yeah, that is such a rude thing, and I love it so much. I understand this is probably a more stable build path for an Ivern, but it's still funny to see for me.
Yeah, I think it's actually the better build path, frankly, because Daisy's the champion and Ivern's the pet. So you want as much champion uptime as possible. And having the Malignance, it means that Daisy gets to stay on the Rift and gets to do more. And you're perma going to see Daisy effectively walking around with this team.
Yeah, not only that, burning some of that AP, burning some of the magic resist off gives Keon extra as well. But it does make a Potato Turtle a little bit squishy, which is why we're seeing this catch come out here in a Potato Turtle.
Touching everything.
With Flash available, is actually routed away from the rest of the team. TP coming in here. On top of Daisy, though, as they do leave their bot lane alone. Serpent Shadow needs to get out to safety. That's one of their main carries. Carcarol, though, has to flash over the wall.
Still
Ignite
alive?
went down on Serpent Shadow, but this is a split fight that is actually leaning into the favor of Slugs. They kept their ADC alive. They kept their jungler alive. They kept everyone alive, at least for the time being.
No,
5e jumps right in to get chomped on as Kotick is trying to fire over the wall. Serpent Shadow trying to heal up thanks to that wave, but is it really going to work? Kotick standing front and center, though, as now the kills come through. We are finally seeing uOttawa Gray finish off these kills, and yet Keon is able to find one in the back line. For all that damage that was done, it is a 2-for-4, so uOttawa Gray get their kills and the dragon. They will stop that dragon charge up, we should say.
And that's the first dragon of the game for uOttawa Gray. Able to get that one is going to be nice for them. And if they can stack 4 of them, that's going to be absolutely epic. Because we talked about how the UCSC Slugs, their composition wants to get up in your face. They've got 2 sort of brawling bruisers that need to get in range, and having that slow would be huge to be able to stop them from engaging on their terms. And also to deny away from Ezreal, who's going to be able to poke you to death with a Hex Tech. So uOttawa Gray, as well, because of that, might be able to kind of threaten this mid lane a little bit. I was wondering if anybody else would actually come and help ET Roy. If there was any backup, they might have been able to chip a little bit more away from that turret. But failing that, both teams kind of get a reset, and Herald is the next major objective on the board.
Herald is going to be a whole other bloody battle, as this has been... I mean, I said I wanted action, but I didn't expect it to be this aggressive, this kind of all over the place. It feels like I'm sitting here trying to make heads or tails of a lot of these fights, and yet we are just watching everyone try and outplay each other a lot of the time. The fact that Serpent Shadow is staying alive for as long as they did, in a mix-up where you're sitting under 100 HP, you have to know that you're going to be on the chopping block if anyone sees you this time around. As you called, Herald is currently alive, though, and we can see it filtering as Keon currently has TP up. Table Turtle now item in a half, still trying to build into a little bit more burn, ready to go for yet another jungle fight if given the opportunity.
Well, Serpent Shadow's an Ezreal. That's one of the things you can do with Ezreal. Like Mystic shots, you can fire from half a screen away from pretty much safety. Bot lane Keon going on to ET Roy, but he goes Mega at the perfect timing. And basically, with the Gnar, you kind of have to play around the Rage Bar. I think Dash Zero has done a great job of that, but Keon looking a little bit less experienced with it.
And I think the big win is actually you force out the ult from ET right before Herald as well. So if there's any TP as well, you're like, maybe that mini Gnar we can force out, or maybe we can get a little bit of a dance. Of course, right now Serpent Shadow in the mid lane taking a massive chunk out of Jenny's HP bar. And Carcarol and 5e just trying to clear out this pink ward. It's not going to be as easy as they assume, as another ward is dropped directly on top. This is just a Duke, as now we see Kotick also getting caught on the back end. TP coming in a little bit late as 5e is taken very, very low. And this pinch by Slugs is 10 times better. Everyone on the side of uOttawa Gray has to run away. It's going to be a kill for kill, but it's only Ivan going down here. Keon tries to slam everyone into the wall. Everyone's running away from ET into the larger side of the pincer, and the Slugs call the right battle as they wash through 4 in a really sweet fight.
It feels like try and try again, right? This is almost a mirror matchup of what happened on the bot side, where UCSC picked the fight in the enemy jungle behind turret lines, and they lost out that time. This time they win. Overall, it's dragged on long enough as well that Atakan spawned, and I love that UCSC immediately went for that. Nobody is stopping ET in the mid lane because they know these major objectives are far more important. ET, though, he got 1. Can he get 2?
I think he might be able to. True Shot Barrage is going to go out, just trying to clear out a little bit of that wave, but it's not going to be enough. ET, I think, is going to chance this. You have enough, and yeah, you're going to have enough in the HP bar. No, Obtainable Turtle is here, okay? So you don't want to deal with that Ivan, especially with the pinch that can come through. But as you mentioned, it does give reason that we see uOttawa Gray look for maybe a chance at getting that consolation prize. The Herald is currently up. No one is in the vicinity for Slugs, and maybe they can get this down before any enemies come about.
Even with the Hexa Gates, Herald isn't that tanky, so it will get shredded, absolutely melted. And if we take a look at the gold, I feel like a lot of the longer lasting buffs have gone over to UCSC, first 2 dragons, Atakan, but uOttawa still have more gold in their pocket, and with Herald, that should be a guaranteed turret take. Roots actually land onto Serpent Shadow.
I'm pretty sure Serpent Shadow also tried to Arcane Shift out, but this time is able to hold off. 2 shots, Barrage coming out, doing massive damages now. Dash Zero just jumps straight in. Great Crescent Guard to knock everyone else back, but you are going to slice right on top of that. Dice, and Karkro can't do anything. And another tether lands onto Jenny. And Dashio flashes into the back line. That's an immediate 2 chomp. As this is a UCSC Black rending through this game number 1. Dash Zero even getting a piece of the painter as the mid lane tower will fall.
Brute Force, great fight from UCSC on what was a catch onto Serpent Shadow. I want to highlight again, Serpent Shadow didn't use barrier. I feel like I've never seen that barrier being used by the Zezreal. Either you're dead or you're fine. And either way, it's always overkill where the barrier doesn't save you. Meanwhile, we are seeing ET Roy continue to split push as he has done every single time, but Keon's answering the bot lane. So this time, ET Roy, it's not kind of equalizing the score. He's just trying to salvage a really bad situation for uOttawa Grey right now.
It hurts so much to say that, and it feels bad as well. ET has been kind of pulled it on the map, and we're seeing something that Slugs have done, I think, very, very well, which we always talk about. The downside of a Gnar is that Gnar bar. You get played around a lot, and if you don't have the proactivity, you're not able to kind of call the shots whenever the bar is up. A lot of teams are able to understand how to deal with that Gnar bar, how to deal with playing around a mini Gnar and a mega Gnar, and they just are able to run as we get both quicknesses out 5e running away from the battle. As that's the wrong side of the map as well. Slugs looking down towards his bottom side and looking at that Hex Tech.
That would be so point for them if they can get it. 5e and ET up on this top side. Dash Zero Dominus is about to come up.
Well, main thing is it doesn't matter about Dominus. It matters about getting right away from the 2 members as the dragon is currently populated. So you don't want to give your life just yet. Slugs go ahead, grab their 3rd dragon. A little bit of late smite, gets a Q on it anyway. And that will be a hand. Serpent Shadow, though, trying to roam towards that mid lane. But the uOttawa Grey side of things are able to make magic happen. Obtainable Turtle, though, I don't know if you really want to walk there. And dodges away from a point blank. Chain of Corruption dodges the knockup as well. Obtainable Turtle is quite literally unobtainable as now you walk into the mix. You're trying to step into the back line as you're about to find Jenny. But enough time for the rest of the Slugs to come on in. And it looks like this makeshift sloppy attempt at a jungle save is actually going to turn out quite well as the Slugs get revenge for Obtainable Turtle and take down 2 of uOttawa Grey.
I mean, we've seen this song and dance before. It happened in the mid lane the last time they caught Serpent Shadow. So UCSC were just able to collapse in fast enough, and I think a lot of this is on the Iron Shields, right? The amount of sustain that he has is absolutely disgusting, and now UCSC replicating that success. Baron is on the table. Can they actually take it? I mean, Karkro is dead. There's no smite to contest it. So is Turtle, but Turtle will spawn 10 seconds faster.
I love the fact that you pointed out the shielding of an Ivern, and yet it is not the full shielding that we normally see. Normally we see shields out the wazoo, right? We see these extensive, like 500, 600 shields or anything like that. These are just raw AP shields. If you're looking at it, Obtainable Turtle currently has a Rylai's plus the Luminance, is going for a little bit more burn. I'm guessing that's going to be a Leandri's as well. You're looking at just hefty beef at the end of the day, and there's no major shield amplification that we normally see. This is not utility Ivern. This is damage Ivern, so if you run in thinking that this is utility, you're going to be in for a very rude surprise. The rest of uOttawa Grey, though, learning that one in a much more drastic fashion as Karkro walks straight into Daisy yet again. True Shot Barrage not going to do any damage, but the close quarters combat is going to force Karkro to flash over the wall.
He is alive, though, and that is probably what matters the most. Kaztek having to flash as well. This is no longer uOttawa Grey's jungle. This is UCSC's jungle, and uOttawa Grey is just living in it, and they probably shouldn't be. It's getting real worrisome for uOttawa Grey right now. All the fights have not turned out in their favor, and I think a lot of it is their carries are getting exposed. I need to see somebody sit back and peel for them. Baron is being melted. Scrying was dropped, so they know it's being done. Half health and Baron.
They're in a dangerous spot right now. TP coming in a little bit late once again as the Baron is getting drawn down to about 2k. Karkro is trying to go back around the wall. Are you going to find that jump in 3, 2, 1? Possible dash over the wall.
He gets it!
Smite stolen! You smite sold away Karkro. Now how many more can you get? That's going to be a kill number 1 for Caustic. But Caustic trying to run for their lives. And I don't know if they're going to be able to survive with any of the Baron buffs. At the current moment, though, 5e as well as ET are alive, but they got to keep running. A Serpent Shadow wants to chase them down. Arcane Shift should be available here in a second. Gonna take down ET, and it looks like you're gonna burn them to a crisp. That will be a triple for Serpent Shadow. Quick empowered recall, one more to go. 5e, the only one alive, but man, that Steel Karkurul, that was a massive piece that you were able to save for yourself, even though you don't have 5 Baron buffs on the board.
You got 1 on your support. But this Baron isn't about pushing in. It's not about trying to end the game. It's about stalling out because uOttawa Grey were spiraling down. If they lost that Baron, UCSC would have been able to try and close out with that Baron buff. 5e, what are we doing here? You're alone with no backup. This ain't supportal combat. That's -0. He will 100-0 you.
I think 5e knows that better than most. 1, 7, and 7 has sacrificed their life more times than they can currently count, in terms of either trying to save their team, of trying to keep their team alive, or as just scouting, trying to get the wards down. Not only that, at this point, I gotta agree though, you gotta play doubly careful. You're the only one with the Baron buff. If your team is able to win a team fight anywhere, you can use that pushing power to get a fight, you know, get another tower on the bot side of the sword. However, all eyes are currently on this dragon because the slugs have that option to find that Hextech soul. 5e though, trying to chase him for Serpent Shadow, who is able to get out of the quickness. It's now going to force the rest of the slugs to rotate towards this mid lane.
Quick Arcane Shift, and that's Rakan's ultimate down. It will probably be up in time for the next big team fight, but Dragon is spawning in 35 seconds, and this one is Hextech Soul. So uOttawa Grey, they've been losing all the recent team fights. They need to win this one or it might be lights out.
5e getting another knockup, but ET is around the corner here. And it does feel like uOttawa Grey are massively hunting. They know that Zero has TP and is pushing on the top side, doesn't want to overforce anything. Caustic is actually going to be sent to try and deal with it, or just stay. I think they're looking to almost sacrifice it. That's going to be the Glacial Prison Fissure, though, as it lands on multiple. Quick tether in the back line. Keon trying to catch one out, but the Crescent Guard keeps everyone away, and uOttawa Grey are going to try and kite this one out as much as possible, and they got one as well. The Braum goes down. ET slam 2 against the wall, but the damage is just way too much. Jenny, though, popping out with
Jenny got caught.
Their own, but the wallet dip is huge. Serpent Shadow is alive. That is going to be his extra shielding with the barrier just for Sal. Triple and ace for UCSC Black.
I feel like that's the only barrier we've seen from Serpent Shadow, but boy, did it work. Triple kill, 14, 2, and 8. And we talked about this bot lane, Serpent Shadow and Kinuryu. They are the rock of this team. And right now, that rock is being dropped right on uOttawa's head. And it's so painful to watch because Jenny has not been able to free fire. That fight, he got a chance to. 3, 8, and 7 right now, but he was ripping into UCSC slugs right up to the moment where -0 showed up. And where's the peel for this guy? He can carry your team if you peel for him. Where's the peel for that? He's not an Ezreal. He can't just hop around and stay safe like Serpent Shadow can.
I mean, I gotta give Karkurul props though. Karkurul stayed alive a lot longer than I thought. So, you know, the front line's there, just it's made out of paper mache, probably. So, at this point, the paper mache is going to fall down as almost wet paper because the slugs are currently about 3k in the lead, have Hextech Soul as well, meaning they're going to chunk you down, they're going to slow you, they're going to absolutely decimate you if a team fight occurs, and they're the ones to start it out. You see it right there, Jenny getting tagged through, I believe that was a D-powered True Shot Barrage, by the way. If it goes through minions, I think it drops like a small, I think it drops like 5-10% of its damage every creature it hits, down to about 70% power by the last tag. Jenny is recognizing that Serpent Shadow is strong. 14, 2, and 8, as you mentioned. This is the slug saying, we are going to try and close this game out now. We are going to look to force down the rest of these towers, and we're going to take this game 1.
Yeah, and it's up to uOttawa to try and find a way to change that. Honestly, they've been struggling. They haven't won a team fight in the last, 15 minutes, it almost feels like. We've not seen ET really find a good Meganar to kind of find anything. And now, look at 5e. He's not been able to engage. He's 189 for a reason, and a lot of that's because he's got to throw his body in there to find the engage. He often gets melted just even looking for those angles.
I mean, Hammer right there. Jenny, of course, missing yet another Chain of Corruption. It feels like the Chain of Corruption is just being kind of tossed out there, just saying, hey, can it land, please? Can we stall this out? Caustic, though, stepping up a little bit too far, and Zero says, hey, free and easy. Tried to throw the ult, but it doesn't do anything at all. With that kill on the top side, it opens up an expanse for UCSC Black to push on 3 different fronts. Kiniryu body blocking with that Braum, but Dash Zero joining in the rest of this laning phase. Bot side, we're seeing Keon push that bot lane as well. And this is UCSC Slugs willing to play the entirety of the lanes and looking for their first inhibitor tower.
uOttawa need to spray some salt right now. Something, anything, look for a fight. But it's UCSC actually finding another engage.
Oh my gosh, double knock
Wow.
and then some. I wasn't sure if they were going to dash on in like that one, but they are. 5e with a very late triple knockup as the rest of the team is punched out. Flash forward into the face of death, slaughtered in front of the fountain. Thanks to a little knockback, Keon is going to survive for a little bit longer. Who's going to tank? Kiniryu doesn't get there in time. Terrible support, 0 out of 10 on the ratings. Just kidding. That was Keon going down for the rest of the team. And with Caustic just now coming up, you're not going to survive much longer as the Slugs have fought well through a lot of their changes in team dynamics. They're still showing they got that strength, knocking uOttawa Gray down one step. One more step to go before the Slugs reach the grand finals.
One more step before UCSC take out both uOttawa squads, the top 2 seeds coming into the Div 2 Nationals. And what a fantastic game. This bot lane, Obro, Serpent Shadow, 17 kills in that game with this Ezreal. And we saw the moment they picked it, right? It was R1 and R2 that they picked Ezreal Braum. And we saw it and went, oh, this is going to be really scary. That's a really solid bot lane. You can pick whatever you want elsewhere on the map, and this is going to work out. And it was just that. Thankfully, it's Fearless Draft. Well, or maybe sadly, it's Fearless Draft, because we won't get to see Serpent Shadow Ezreal once again. For uOttawa Gray, that's an opportunity. And there's no other AD carrier that really offers quite the same thing that Ezreal does. The closest to it, maybe Tristana and Corki. Tristana did get banned. Maybe we get to see a Corki where the Valkyrie is enough to kind of give him that mobility he needs to pull off another carry performance like that.
I think for the side of uOttawa Gray, you're also very happy that the Ivern isn't going to be there. I think the Ivern was such a large part of why this went so sideways. The damage output, I'd love to see that damage graph personally. I mean, I haven't seen Ivern tech in a while like this, just pure damage, rocking out with Daisy, as you called, the 6th roster man in there, just going ahead, dropping all that damage in there. It was a lot of fun to watch. Taking a look at game number 2, though, uOttawa Gray, there were some shining moments in there. They were willing to take the fights. I give them a lot of credit there. To the bitter end, they were trying to take the fights. What needs to change for them if they want to come back in this series?
Honestly, it felt like they kind of just lost some of that shine they had in the early game. The early game was really close. They were scrapping, they were throwing hands match, and I'd argue their map rotations and their macro was actually cleaner than UCSC to start. But at some point, it just all kind of fell apart, and I don't feel like they were scrappy. I don't feel like they were finding engages. Karkro wasn't able to get in there with Shinjal, and 5e was still trying with the Rakan, but sometimes, like, hey, you can't just be brute forcing it if you're that squishy. So going into game 2, I think it's a mental reset needed for uOttawa Gray. Maybe they got ground down a little bit in game 1. They need to be fresh and willing and ready to set up plays. Don't just randomly pull the trigger without the proper setup. And later on, be willing to pull the trigger, even if things start to slide sideways.
We'll see if they can do it right now. They're the last remaining uOttawa squad here in the Div 2 playoffs, at least in the upper bracket side, and they want to try and make it into those grand finals in a clean record throughout the upper side of the bracket. So we'll see if they can pull it off, give us a mini reverse sweep, and if not, I mean, UCSC, they're going to be real happy about tonight. Let's go to a short break. When we come back, the NECC League of Legends Div 2 Nationals playoffs will continue in just a bit.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Has a
ago.
dog been digging in there?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
The hell with that.
Yeah, there's something in there.
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.
annoying as we are back again with the NECC. Of course, one more game is all that is necessary. You saw me miming, and now you actually get to hear my voice, whether you like it or not. UCSC just need one more game to knock out uOttawa, not Garnet. This is the Gray Squad, and honestly, that game won fierce from start to finish, but UCSC looking real good right now.
Imagine that. What an achievement. You 4-0'd uOttawa in a bracket that does best of threes. That would definitely be an achievement. But for uOttawa Gray, they're not just going to roll over and die. They do think, they did mention that they do think game one does kind of set the tone for how the series might go. But given how scrappy they were at the beginning, Orbital, like I said, I think it's more of a mental reset in the mid-game. Something kind of shifted a little bit negatively for them, and they can definitely bounce back from that. So if anything, if I'm UCSC, I'm kind of looking at this and going like, okay, we won game one comprehensively. Really good showing. We want more of that, but we need to make sure we don't take our foot off the gas and start making mistakes. We don't want this to go to a game three. UCSC wants to close this out clean.
And the thing is, it was anything but clean. And we're talking about the series as a whole, you know, on paper 2-0 and all, but we had to talk about those early fights because you mentioned the mental somewhat breaking in there, and I think I know where it came from. Some of those early jungle fights, we saw the invades coming in from UCSC that, quite honestly, anytime you get invaded, it's frustrating. It's annoying. I understand that. The fact that some of those collapses by the side of uOttawa Gray still did not net the amount of kills that you were hoping for, I think we kind of saw that there. The scrappiness that we give came from that Ivern, the extra shielding, and Serpent Shadow, by the way, popping off on all over the place. We mentioned at the end of game one. I'm very curious if both the jungle and ADC of UCSC are going to have that good of a game this time around.
Yeah, and speaking about their AD carry, if we think back to the bans in game one, uOttawa Gray, they banned out Echo Shen and Tristana to start things off. And Tristana is a bit of a flex between mid and AD carry, so effectively they only threw half a ban at the bot lane. We have heard that uOttawa Gray did opt for red side for game two, and I feel like they might want to maybe target ban the AD carry role a little bit more, giving Serpent Shadow champions with escapes, with flashes, with dashes, with agency just feels like a bad idea after watching that Ezreal game. And you're on red side, you don't get first pick. Maybe just ban out things that give Serpent Shadow that sort of agency.
And the fact that uOttawa Gray, we were planning to see 5e there in the mid lane, and yet it kind of changed up. Caustic had some moments, same with 5e, but 5e really, I mean, you called him a Hillisang type playstyle. We kind of saw that there, really diving in, trying to make plays happen, and yet leading with a lot of the deaths there. I mean, I can't even fault them. That's what I personally like to see out of a support in a losing game. You're still trying. You're trying to make plays happen, especially on a champion like Rakan that has to dash in. I hope to see a little bit more. I really do hope to see a more comfortable bot lane come out for 5e, a more comfortable laning phase, I should say. I don't know what champions we want to bring, but I want to see 5e really excel here.
Well, if you want that sort of engage mentality, there's the more traditional tankier supports. Rakan does get tanky later on, but he does need items under his belt. He needs a bit more gold to get to that point. If you want a more innate tankiness built into your kit with just better base numbers, Leona, Nautilus, Rel, Alistar, all four of those are still available, especially the Alistar. Unbreakable, you know, rank 3 ultimate 70% damage reduction is absolutely massive. Like, you don't even need items with that particular champion. So yeah, we didn't see any support focus whatsoever in game one. I don't think we're going to see too much support focus in game two in terms of bans. So yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of leaning towards if 5e wants to go for those sort of engaged champions. Alternatively, hook champions. We talked about his Pike, right? That's another way that you can be a little bit more non-committal. You don't have to throw your body into there to kind of cause all that trouble. You go for the hook and then you pull them into you instead. Now, it did work out towards the end of the game where they did find catches, but maybe if they find catches a little bit earlier, maybe they can snowball a little bit harder. Maybe they can pull out a win.
And maybe they get a good counter pick. That's the other side of it. uOttawa Gray already opting for that red side, and now we get to see the bans come out here. Slugs, of course, saying, okay, we're going to keep it the same just like before, keep the Zoe out of the hands. And I think that is very, very important because, as we talked about, the idea that Caustic is sitting in there in that mid lane, now a little bit more prevalent, that we know that, at least on the desk here. It is going to be a little bit important that Zoe is still banned out. Caustic had a I don't want to say comfortable game. It was not comfortable. You're playing Hui, and you were all over the place. You were dragged in every different direction. But the Hui did what Hui was supposed to do. I think the damage scaling was there. So the fact that you're giving respect over to the Zoe, very important. Still Echo, though, banned away. Makes sense. Don't want to give that jungle any extra attention. And the Ambessa as well. Take that champion off the board.
Yeah, the same bans we've seen so far from both the teams, even though they were flipped. There's the Shen, and the last ban coming through from UCSC in game 1 was that Fiddlesticks. Again, that I'm wondering where that particular ban came from, and it was Tristana that came through from uOttawa Grey. But it does mean that uOttawa Grey, they're leaving the AD carry pool champion wide open once again, and I'm a little bit concerned about kind of seeing that go through. Jenny did not have a good game 1. Really did struggle on that Varus. Not only did he not get any peel, but a lot of the chains of corruptions kind of whiffed in weird directions as well.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see Jenny be on a comfort pick in a comfortable matchup.
Thing is you've already lost 2 of your top ones, the Ezreal and the Varus, and now with the Tristana open, you can blind it. If you're looking at the slugs, you can go ahead and throw down a little bit more if you wish, get a little bit silly with it, but they are going to opt for the top side. So Dash 0 being gifted a blind pick option, really setting up a tank on the top side. But ET, we've already seen ET actually look for that counter, look for that kind of long-range aesthetic, and they're going to go for the Kled, which was banned out in game number 1.
Yeah, and I'm already kind of shocked. I don't know if I'd consider that necessarily a gift. The Kazante, that's actually kind of a really not favorable blind champion anymore. It feels like there's too many answers into them. Things like Camille, like Gwen, anything that can scale, can punish, and Kled being one of those champions. Well, Kled does struggle a little bit early on. The base number's not necessarily the best, but the skill on Kled's pretty good, and Cassante will struggle later. uOttawa, very different strategy from game 1. Not so much team fight oriented right now. Both Kled and Pantheon are really good at sort of individual picks. Kled can lead a charge for the team, but yeah, I'm looking at what slugs have gone, and that to me is a lot more what I was expecting actually from uOttawa Grey. Jarvan, big setups, you know.
Oh, and I like this call. So it's not only big setups in one way or another. They used the Kazante and said, hey, Dash 0, we might put you on a Loban Island. We know that you did okay in the top side before, but we need you to blind this because we want to ensure that we get this swing, get this wombo or denial of wombo, that we're seeing this Kled and the Pantheon come out. So all of a sudden, the Kled and Pantheon, I'm not liking what they got to do in the mid to late. In that mid lane, or possibly in the ADC role, we do get to see the Corki locked in as well. A powerful champion to be used if it gets off the ground.
Okay, I like the Corki being picked, partially denied away from Slipper Shadow. We talked about Corki being maybe another alternative to Ezreal with a little bit of agency to get out, and the Tristana ban to follow immediately. Love it. Corki is a bit short range though, and he's going to play inside Swain range for a lot, so I'm a little bit concerned for uOttawa Grey and how they're going to deal with the Swain. I need to see heavy ganks come into them. They shut down the Swain. If he's squishy, he's not an issue. If he gets rolling, if he gets AP or gold under his belt, gets tanky, I get a little bit concerned for uOttawa Grey. Misfortune being taken away as well. That's a good pick when the setup with that J4 is available.
And I like the fact that, again, we are targeting Serpent Shadow in that bot side. It's a very powerful top side overload for UCSC right now. And they're actually looking for some of that stall out as well. The Talia, Weaver's Wall, you don't want to allow that rotational value, as well as team fight cutoff, I guess is the best way to put it. Saying, hey, 5e, we don't assume that you're going to take that Corki. We assume that you're going to have that rotational value, have that Talia in there. And 5e says, cool, okay, sounds good. I'll grab the Ahri instead. And all of a sudden, that laning phase is all mine.
Okay, that's really interesting because now this composition from uOttawa Grey, they've completely moved away from any sort of team fight. We suspected it when we saw that Pantheon picked up earlier already, but it's really about picks, about skirmishing, about snowballing the game. UCSC on the other side. Okay, just a complete 180 from Ezreal. Like, Ash is not mobile. She's not, you know, she's not particularly got a good 2-item power spike. She comes in much later in the game. It's all about utility, and they've gone with the Thresh. So a little bit of a low damage composition coming through from UCSC. A lot of utility, a lot of tankiness potentially. Still pretty decent team fight. I am a little bit concerned for Serpent Shadow, but hey, now it's on Kinuru to really protect and save his AD carry in a way that he already did last game with that Braum.
All of a sudden, we're seeing a little bit of a shift as well for 5e. We're seeing possibly a Pantheon support and Karkarol with the Nidalee in the jungle. We talked about it before. Karkarol likes to play some of these more aggressive champions. I mean, you mentioned before in the green room that Karkarol in solo queue loves playing Shaco's, some of these little surprise champions. And Nidalee's also a surprise champion in a way.
It is. I was thinking Pantheon jungle for the most part. You know, like really good gangs.
All of us were.
Great with Ahri. The Nidalee throws this for a whole loop, and I'm not sure I like it, bro. It's very high risk, high reward composition coming through from uOttawa. But we talked about the fact that the composition was already looking to snowball, to get leads rolling as fast as you can. And Nidalee is one of the heaviest snowball champions you can pick in that jungle role. Problem is, we usually see Nidalee with setup. things like Pantheon, like Renekton into the top lane, where you've got a point and click stun so she can land that javelin toss, follow up, and get a huge burst of damage. Look at what she has in her lanes now. Kled doesn't have point and click. His bear trap pulls you as well, so you've got to kind of account for that displacement with that move. Ahri, her charm's not the easiest skill shot to land, and again, you're still moving when it lands. A lot slower, albeit, so the javelin toss easier to land, but it's not point and click. The only point and click you get is in this bot lane, and for that reason, Karkro, I think, is going to be focusing on this bot lane and UCSC with that Thresh Ashe. I mean, Thresh is great at potentially dealing with the ganks, but if he's the one who's targeted, things could get dicey. That bot lane has to play safe.
I almost feel this is going to be the opposite of what we saw last time. Last time we saw the Varus actually struggle a lot, being left on their own, you know, having to kind of soak up a lot of that XP. We talked about how Jenny was almost constantly shoved underneath the tower, constantly trying to step out. We talked about the fact that the barrier sometimes is being used, but you're always in a 1v2. I feel like this Ashe might be in the same position, not for want of trying. The fact that Serpent Shadow did so well last game as well, you have a little PTSD, so let's see if Serpent Shadow can have the same game, or if this Nidalee is going to have fun.
What?
As I am completely wrong. It is a Nidalee
Support?
all out aggression. So this is uniqueness upon uniqueness upon uniqueness for uOttawa Gray.
I'm so confused by uOttawa Gray. First we were misled with the Kaztec 5e sort of row swap, which didn't happen. They went back to their sort of old lane assignments, and now 5e with the Nidalee support. Like, Nidalee has no hard CC in her kit whatsoever. She's got no CC at all. I mean, she's got a lot of damage. She's got a heal, which will also boost attack speed. So I guess that's one thing that Jenny can kind of look towards, but it puts a lot of work on Jenny to be able to kind of make that happen. That said, I do prefer the Pantheon in the jungle. We talk about CC, like coin and click CC to kind of set things up. Karkro having it makes the ganks so much easier. And I still want to see bot lane ganks, because if not, I just don't really know how this Nidalee is going to work without jungle pressure.
This is very, very surprising to me, and it's a very large gamble, as we're also seeing a gamble in that top side. Obtainable Turtle is looking to be a menace. Karkro walks so close to that brush. Oh, this could be disaster, RMC. This could be rude. We talked about how Obtainable Turtle was so impactful in game number 1 and being a menace by just scaling up. He even knows. He even knows we're watching. This is going to be brutal. 3, 2, 1, smite away. And there is the red buff stolen. Obtainable Turtle already setting Karkro behind.
Red buff? Obtained. That's why that turtle is obtainable, I guess. And it's hilarious how he actually snuck into the bush as well. That's absolutely massive. Karkro is going to be significantly set far behind. And Pantheon is one of those early junglers. We talked about that comp wanting to snowball. Yeah, already on the back foot. What snowball?
I mean, that's so good. And Obtainable Turtle, not only that, able to allow Keon to get a little extra fight in there. It's not big, don't get me wrong. I mean, an extra walk by. But the fact that Keon is able to walk up that far, we saw that mess. As soon as you hit level 2, you're like, hey, I'm perfectly fine. I can step up. I can duel out. And all of a sudden, Caustic is already set on the back foot as well. With this Ahri, where normally we want to see the Ahri kind of take over the laning phase, wants to get a little bit faster farm, wants to keep HP well. And I mean, we're seeing Obtainable Turtle do much more than that.
Oh
This is
no,
gonna be Obtainable Turtle
Karkro.
smiting away and is now going to fight at level 3. No way. Ain't no way. Karkro flashing over the wall. Caustic trying to come around, is able to get a charm, and all of a sudden, Obtainable Turtle, for all the lead that you had, is possibly going to go down. One more stab might come out. Obtainable Turtle, you're trying to throw down. That's a fight. You're trying to win, and you get first blood. Caustic able to pick up the return kill. But my gosh, Obtainable Turtle being absolute menace. ET doing the exact same dash 0, though. Remounting on the top side, and ET yet again finding a kill in that top side.
Okay, ET getting his solo revenge in the top lane. Mid lane, they are dueling heavily. Skill shots missing left and right.
Wait,
but Keon's still winning this.
Okay.
The minions are killing Caustic. That's actually why Caustic was losing, because he was eating so much minion damage. Caustic had double buffs too. So I want to go take a step back to what happened in the jungle, because I do think there's a lot of ramifications from what we did see happen there. Obtainable Turtle dying is actually the worst case scenario. Getting the kill doesn't matter. You wanted the double buffs, you wanted to set Karkro behind, and now you've given double buffs over to Caustic instead. Keon's going to have a bit of a hard time, and it also means that you couldn't gank Jenny and 5e in this bot lane. With that J4, with the early lead you had, you really wanted to go down there with the setup that an Ashe and a Thresh gives you. Thresh's Lantern is just such a strong gank tool, not to mention the death sentence. If you land that hook, it's guaranteed setup, and even with the flashes, with how Jenny and 5e are pushing up, I don't think they'd have been able to get to safety.
Oh, it's just a position that they got to be in right now as Caustic. Thanks to that double buff, they actually do feel a little bit better in that phase in the mid lane, and so Keon having to respect that, but still up a decent amount of farm, so is going to be that challenge. We are seeing some revenge on the other side, though. I want to point out Carcurl now getting their buffs and experience one way or another, albeit a small piece. They've only been able to collect, I think this red buff is all they've gotten, and now they'll clear out the Krugs, but again, Obtainable Turtle is miles ahead. Dash Zero, though, is miles behind, it feels like, as ET is willing to flash on top of this fight. ET from game 1 to 2 has started to look a little bit better as well. Remember, that top lane was all fire, and we really didn't know who was going to come out as the mainstay winners. Kiniryu on the bot side, though, realizing that they're in for a little bit of a battle. Enemy jungler is there. Nice step away by Jenny, though, to not get that hook landed.
Yeah, in the mid lane, Kazakh just being run down. He's not 6 yet.
Nope, he's not, but Obtainable Turtle is absolutely level 4. Keon, though, a little bit slower. That's a flash forward with the Q, and you're able to land that smackdown. Obtainable Turtle getting nailed with that spear, but with blue up, might have flag and drag up. That's a quick swipe for the claws. It looks like you are going to be damaged and dead. Top side, though, we're seeing a difference as well. ET trying to dive that tower, but with the dismounting on the Skrull, you are going to be okay. Fire once again in every single lane. Dash Zero, I don't know if you want to walk directly into the bush, but you had a ward, so you knew ET was recalling there.
Yeah, I was a little bit scared. I think ET was actually probably back shopping already. Didn't even try and trade with Dash Zero there. I'm a little bit surprised how this top side actually went. I did think Asante would have a easier time of it in lane, because it kind of doesn't get better. There is a point where when he completes a Bramble Vest, he might actually be able to trade a little bit better, but then after the Bramble Vest is completed, it kind of goes downhill. So ET might be able to answer back. 5e gets hooked. There's the gank we're talking about.
So clean. And they even get the flash on Jenny. I was wondering if they were going to do cleansing, going to cleanse the slows. Obtainable Turtle gets that second, all while Carcurl is on the track. Obtainable Turtle walks up just gently. You might be able to get a smite fight off. That's going to be Dragon down to about 1k. Looks like it's not going to be challenged, so at least uOttawa Gray are able to get this Dragon, but it's a small price as bot lane gets rooted. ET, though, looking to get a little bit of a proxy going for themselves.
Cheeky Dragon. This is what we said about ET last time, right? He did this against Jungle Dragons too, and he likes to do this. When he's ahead, he knows that he can afford to go in proxy without punish. Now, the question is whether Obtainable Turtle and Keon can actually collapse in and punish him. ET might have overextended. You can see the pings coming down as he's between tier 2 and tier 3 proxying right now.
Granted, I think you have enough HP, so you're saying, okay, as long as I can see the likes of most members on the field, you're okay. Kiniryu, though, going to be almost dismounting this, and I like the fact that ET tried to turn it around, drops Kiniryu down to about a fourth of their HP, but in comes Obtainable Turtle, and now you're in a disastrous spot. Energy, though, recharging Obtainable Turtle, waiting for a little bit of the extra cooldowns, and doesn't get the stab off in time, so ET able to force them away. In the meantime, Dash Zero still on the top side, clearing out that way, so it will be ET to go ahead and get a safe recall off.
And disastrous for whom? Overall, I think it was all confident from ET. He was fine. He cut the wave already, so he didn't even drop any CS in that series of events, and it tied up Obtainable Turtle and Kiniryu for so incredibly long. Jenny, 5e, they were just pressuring in the entire time. Obtainable Turtle might die to grubs!
Oh no. It's a little bit tanky there. It looks like you're just trying to grab one. Team is here to help out, but I mean that is still very messy. But it is going to be the grubs handed over. Keon obviously walking over to give a couple extra pieces of that Q. The damage coming out here, but rotation from Caustic might say the same. I like the fact that Caustic is trying to roam, at least trying to get information. Keon has had a lot of freedom to move around, currently has about a 13 CS lead, so 2 waves under their belt. So Caustic just trying to do their best and matching pace, keeping eyes, getting information for uOttawa Gray.
And you can see the gold lead that Keon kind of has already in that mid lane from a lot of the early pressure that came down. That's not what you'd expect to see in this matchup, as you alluded to earlier. And that's a really good sign for UCSC. They're up kills as well. Arrow lands into the bot lane, but they can't quite follow up.
No, and instead it's going to be 5e that might get chunked out here. That's going to be a good heal to come out, and Jenny now full HP, realizing that this is going to be huge. Serpent Shadow dancing in the face of death. So it's a good try coming out of Serpent Shadow and Kiniryu. But again, they don't have that much damage right now.
Yeah, and that's why I think what ET's been doing in this top side has been disproportionate, right? You're slowing down Obtainable Turtle. He can't go into the bot lane. He's stuck on this top side trying to deal with ET. His bot lane's kind of suffering out, and I guess that's how this middle E support kind of works. You're ranged and you're just bleeding out. Grand Star Fall into Keon.
I mean, we kind of expected this as well. Karkarol, first major gank, because that's going to be a charm. Keon not really having the HP damage right now. That's a final stab as a shutdown goes Karkarol's way.
That's closer than I think Karkarol would like to see. If one more Demonic Ascension, one more Noble Blast, is that what's called? Might have been enough to turn it on Untameable Turtle, going on to Kaztech right now, but there's so much backup for Zari.
Oh yeah, and Attainable Turtle is also very squishy. Went with the Eclipse, and
Yeah.
5e, by the way, is also going for the Rod of Ages, and it's going to get a tanky Nidalee support. So huge shots from uOttawa Gray. Right now, Kiniryu, though, level 6 is going to try and flay everyone back. Has the box, is going to throw it down here and get a slow on both, but Keon, it's taking a little bit longer, but there is going to be that box, that lantern to keep him safe. Good flash out by Kostek, though, to get an extra heal from 5e. And 5e enabling a lot of this skirmish heavy scrambles in all the lanes.
No, the more I see of this Nidalee, the more I hate it, Orbital, but it's working for 5e. It's so disgusting. The heals are enough, and I think a lot of that's coming off the fact that his lanes are skilled enough to kind of buy their own time. All they need is that extra heal to be able to turn things around. Again, I want to go back to the fact that Keon kind of got ganked and died. That window is fast closing, though. That happened when Keon didn't have his Rod of Ages. In 10 minutes' time, Keon is going to be an absolute menace to uOttawa. And we talked about their composition. They need to snowball it. Have they done enough? At 10 minutes, a 500 gold lead honestly doesn't feel that significant. Yeah, great, you got one dragon, but UCSC is the one who got grubs. And if you're a snowball composition, the grubs are much more valuable to get you that snowballing gold off turrets and your plates.
At the moment, I feel like Karkarol is just like, yeah, I'd like to snowball, please. I can't. Please give me a moment, and I'll get back to you in like 5 to 6 business days once I'm allowed to actually clear most of my jungle out. This is going to be a test here as Serpent Shadow dodges away from that spear. Is going to stay safe and waiting for a couple of those item breakpoints, of course. For Serpent Shadow, it's going to take a lot longer, but Dragon is going to be up in about 10 seconds. It is a mountain, so not exactly the most played for, but you do want it off the board to see what the soul will be. 5e, though, just stepping up, and again, with this Grasping the Undying is very, very annoying. We didn't even talk about that. 5e really getting that tanky, annoying support action.
Yeah, Grasping the Undying honestly doesn't. It feels like it's been nerfed enough times that it doesn't give you that much health. So it's going to be a while, but come the late game, maybe there's some scaling at least for uOttawa in terms of health, and we'll see how effective it is. I do like the Dragon rotation they have done, though, as you mentioned. Serpent Shadow and Kiniryu kind of still on the back foot. They're not at their item break points just yet, so they can't contest with this Dragon whatsoever. And while on Obtainable Turtle is trying to see what he can find in the top side, the grubs haven't spawned, and ET is just such an annoying champion with Kled that the dives are complicated. You don't have enough damage. -0 double chainmail, by the way, with Sheen. A very defensive build, to say the least.
And it leans into what you were talking about. The fact that -0 and ET have kind of drawn our eyes in more ways than one. The fact that Obtainable Turtle, remember, in game number 1, had a lot of presence around the map. And now we're even seeing this ult on the top side. Karkarol actually burned that jump in. And now Obtainable Turtle only got one grub. In goes the Scarlet Charge. Obtainable Turtle is completely left alone. Is going to try and flag and drag their way out. He flashes to the wall of safety. But Kostek is going to follow. And this is going to allow uOttawa Gray to just challenge everyone out. That's going to be a great ult over the wall at -0. Still getting back to safety, but it's the jungler down once again for UCSC, as that is the 4th death for Obtainable Turtle.
Yeah, and this is good for uOttawa Gray. These are the sort of snowballs that they kind of need to get. Fine, they punish, and they make good use of their map mobility. The way Karkarol was able to get there really quickly, and ET was able to rotate as well. Going for Kiniryu here, not a ton of damage once again. And you know what? I think 5e is just being an absolute annoyance. He's just doing what he's been doing all game on this Nidalee. Is it hyper impactful? Not immediately, but it's very, very annoying.
I know you said that the Grasping and the Undying isn't that powerful. It's not the actual grasp that's annoying. It's just watching it happen. I think from a Nidalee is actually the worst part. Just like, oh, I got tagged, and like at level 3, it actually does a decent amount of damage. You're just like, I hate life. I hate everything going on with this Nidalee. And as you mentioned, Nidalee just being a giant pain in the backside is working wonders. You're starting to see Kiniryu also get challenged out, being forced to kind of be followed and understand that you're not going to get a clean gank off anywhere of the sort. Serpent Shadow eating up that spear, which granted isn't doing that much damage, but a rotation down by Attainable Turtle might see some eyes. Arrow landing as Jenny cleanses out, but now you land the hook on a 5e who doesn't have upgraded boots, and the damage coming out. Tall arrows doing work. Tower dive, though, easily in the eyes. Last auto is there. Serpent Shadow gets damage. It's going to live as well as you power through with a double kill. Serpent Shadow weaving and dodging for 2.
pretty darn clean. And again, every time I see that gank happen, I'm just wondering why wasn't Obtainable Turtle there 5 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago? It feels like it's such an easy gank to be able to set up and pull off. Speaking of easy ganks though, Dash Zero, he's trying to play around the turret. No ult available, and his turret's gone.
Yeah, and I mean, yep, this is the right call. You go ahead and just wait it down. ET gonna go ahead and chase in as well. But Kiniryu about 5 seconds away and gonna get that lander to safety. So right call by uOttawa Gray. Open up that base, get first tower for their name.
I think UCSC is going to be happy that they didn't drop Dash Zero as well on that topside dive. So win-win situation for both teams, if you will. One win's probably bigger, but we won't judge. In the mid lane, Keon getting shut out for now. Rod of Ages still stacking, and
Oh my
the
gosh.
re-engage from ET.
Well, it's
Perfect.
so easy because you have those globals. It's just that simple. Ult ain't gonna save you as Karkul gets their second of the game.
Yeah, I'm loving these ultimates coming through from Karkul, really making use of that gank onto 5e.
RMC, I'm not going to let you talk at all, and maybe
Yeah,
UCSC ain't either. A Cataclysm is going to be landed, and it's going to keep everyone in, but 5e was on the short end of that side, so it's just going to be Jenny. Really well done here as another volley comes out. Caustic, though, very healthy, meaning Keon has to back away.
5e still looking for potential re-engagement. So is Kanuru. I don't think UCSC actually want any more of this. Demonic Ascension's already down for Keon.
Ooh, okay, I like that. But this is the proper punish. Of course, that means Serpent Shadow is going to get dove under the tower, and you're still a squishy Ash. Tower falling on the top side, but it's a kill back for Kaniri. You wish that were on Serpent Shadow, but it ain't going to be so. Keon, of course, throwing down a little bit of the eye of that crow. But Danger is done all the way around the map and taking stock. It's open side on the top side, thanks to ET.
Yeah, and ET is, again, seemingly having a disproportionate effect on this game. We said it in the laning phase, and he's doing it again with all these turrets taken. He's an absolute force to be reckoned with. He's down CS, but you can see his gold is the biggest gold difference in the game right now. And I'm actually wondering who on UCSC can even answer this Kled at this moment. Can the Swain? Because if Keon can't do it, Dash Zero can't do it, Serpent Shadow certainly can't do it. 5e. As a support trying to steal away that buff is so obnoxious. Like, you don't have smite, and Obtainable is like, okay, just go away. Let me get my red buff. There's nothing you can do.
I feel that's only because the fact that Obtainable Turtle is going a little bit squishier side. We don't see the Thunder Sky now as the Eclipse is a lot. You're squishy, right? You don't have as much HP. You get a shield, which is fine, but 5e is going tank. You got the Rod of Ages already built. You can do this all day long as long as you know where everyone else is. And especially with Dragon coming up, keeping Obtainable Turtle a little bit further behind, trying to allow Karkul to catch up as you're still waiting. This is going to be an unequal smite fight, 900 versus 1200. So 5e just trying to help the jungle out as much as possible.
Yeah, and 5e for a second was getting worried, kind of being caught between multiple members of UCSC. And actually able to get out, and that feels like a microcosm of how a lot of these fights have gone, where uOttawa Gray have been, you know, using their greater mobility in these fights wonderfully well. We saw that with Castac, with 5e especially. Then UCSC just comes in with a stat check. Like, do we have enough stats to win this? And if we do, then it doesn't matter how fancy your feet are. This next fight could be big for them. Demonic Ascension available for Keon along with the Flash. He can try and position this to uOttawa first starting up the Dragon.
And of course, with this Dragon, it's a whole different story. The chem tech is so real, but there is no vision right now inside, and so this is going to be a little bit scary. Even Jenny, who is 0-3-1, doesn't have that much damage that you're talking about in the Fog of War, can do a lot with those missiles. Dragon down, though, to about 5k. We've seen steals before, and we could possibly see it again. Obtainable Turtle has done a lot of work in managing this. Went in a little bit early, though, and that might be the pinch. Dash Zero looking to try and jump in, but Karkul jumped in and now gets stunned out. Cataclysm flashing out to safety as no one else is in, but the damage to Overload is big. This is the Slug signing back into team fight value. Dragon goes away at Karkul, but the deaths will be their way as well as the Slugs get revenge for losing the Dragon. ET dismounted and discharged here. You are forced out of the army. It's a shutdown to Dash Zero as it's a 4-0, and all you lost was the Dragon.
And again, still a very even exchange. We say still a Dragon, but it's so point. Orbital on a Chemtech Drake on potentially ET and Chemtech Soul on somebody who's taking 4 members for UCSC to kill. You saw how long ET was in there. He got the extra remount off, and that shield bar was absolutely disgusting coming through. But UCSC getting the kills, that goes a long way towards helping them come back into the game, stop the snowballing from uOttawa. That turret's going to put them in the lead, and I love the efficiency. They lost the Dragon, but after the fight, they're getting 2 outer turrets plus Herald all at the same time. So that's a lot of gold being infused to UCSC. As long as they win all the Dragon fights from here on out, they're good to go. They're golden. They're fine. They scale perfectly well.
And it goes back to what you kind of call that stat check difference is such a real moment. Keon walking away from 5e, who does have a little extra damage in the back pocket. That's going to be a jump forward. Keon does not have ult. The demonic extension is just now coming up. I don't think it's going to come up in time. Just now, Deans, but you're low on HP. You're going to try and stay alive for a little bit longer, but it's not going to work. Costek and 5e able to burn through that Swain. And I mean, it feels bad because Rod of Ages is just one sack away from dinging up.
Yeah, and I'm actually getting a little scared watching that. I think that's the precursor for the future there, watching Keon just be able to tank through all of that. Once he picks up his Zonias, and if he had the ult starting from the beginning of that fight, that 2v1 might not actually have resulted in a uOttawa win. However, to cleanse our palate, if you're a uOttawa fan, you get to see ET still be able to beat up on Dash Zero. There's still no Bramble Vest, by the way. That's one thing we kind of talked about. Dash Zero never built it, and because of that, I'm not confident that he actually ever wins the 1v1 without some sort of, extra armor, healing cut, stopping ET from being able to just abuse him constantly like that.
Yeah, it's a rough spot to be in. For ET, I think you're trying to make the most of that. I'm pretty sure ET recognized that as well, and is just like, I'll fight all day long. Has an extra mallet in hand, so very, very strong. Bot side tower will fall in favor of uOttawa Gray. Okay. So a lot more of the map opened up once more. We were talking about tower advantage to uOttawa Gray. Dash Zero stepping on top of a trap as 5e once again playing the menace. In goes the charge of the Skarl, and Dash Zero barely able to get away. Gets dragged right back in as now we see a fight in the mid lane, and Serpent Shadow stepping up on the wrong way, but 1v1's out. Of course, Cargirl is there to pay dividends, but still, that damage is so real. Now a flash as Cargirl is caught out. Screw the top lane. Dash Zero is fine. Cargirl goes down.
Don't have a dash on my champion. I've still got Summoner Flash. Serpent Shadow winning that one is kind of nutty on a 2-item spike for Ashe. Sorry, not even a 2-item spike. 2 items. It's not a spike. Ashe isn't that strong on 2 items. She really wants 3 or 4 before she's able to do anything. Kazak playing with fire a little bit right now. Has the flash of a little Spirit Rush, just came up barely in time, but can they hold the turret? I think it should be okay. There's not a lot of range damage to be able to chunk turrets at this point. Or slugs.
Nope. Of course, for 5e, though, trying to get some damage back against Kiniryu. That might be the hook to land, but Cossack is ready to roam again. ET is up and healed up and bot up as well. That's going to be the Lantern out to safety. ET doesn't have ult, so everyone is running TP, coming in a little bit late, though. And it is going to be turned around. Tamer Total not getting a knock-up that they wish. Dash Zero saying, I am alive and well. That's going to be a spear landing on the back end, but still fight in favor of the Slugs for the time being. 5v4 position. Now 5v5. Serpent Shadow joins in, but Kiniryu is dangerously low. It feels like uOttawa Gray are just baiting for the HP bars and just waiting for those ults to come up as well. Cargirl stepping close to the bush. Dash Zero getting over the wall, and Herald being dropped here. Not sure if that's what you want to do as a tameable turtle. Running straight into the backside. Might get multiple knocks. And the arrow lands on the Cargirl once again. A tameable turtle soloing out Jenny in the back line. That means ET and Cargirl are soloed out as well. It will be a 3-for-1 as the ADCs trade their lives. But damage overload by the Slugs as they take out ET and Cargirl.
Who's baiting who, Orbital? It wasn't uOttawa baiting in this case. UCSC, such good patient play from them. And I was thinking back of head, there's no need to fight this for UCSC. The only objective on the map was Atakan, and I wasn't convinced that they could win. Kinryu was so low on health. Just back off, look for the reset, come back in, but they knew better. And I feel like this is how they've been playing all series long, on a knife's edge, but they keep winning out. And every time they win these knife edge fights, they're getting massive advantages on it. Atakan being picked up. Kazak couldn't push mid, so uOttawa can't find any gains whatsoever, and Kazak has to be so careful about how he wants to approach this.
Well, his approach is now going to be completely spotted out, and with that smite, it's already gone. Easy pickup by Obtainable Turtle, but you want all the plays as well, so you're going to sacrifice your life for this one. Cossack getting a nice charm down, and this time ET has the ultimate. HP bars are extremely low as well, so this is the price you pay. Keon, though, barely getting some extra damage down before falling, and Cossack gets an extra charge on the Spirit Rush, and all of a sudden, it's the Slugs realizing that they might have overstepped. Redemption coming in here as Dash Zero looks for a slam with the Tom Fuzz, but it doesn't work as Cossack with yet another toss of the charm. It will be a price of 4 paid. But this also means dragon in the hands of uOttawa Gray.
And this one's soul, and we talked about it.
Yeah. Craziness abound.
Yeah, and 22, we were just talking about UCSC dancing on a knife's edge, and uOttawa went, okay, we've got a bigger knife, here we go. And their payoff is even bigger. So, for Atakan, we take that. And the game rolls on, 1.3k gold lead for uOttawa, but I'm not confident that they're in the lead right now, bro. It feels so incredibly even despite the advantages they've accrued.
And for me, I'm sitting here going, well, you know, we can see the team fights if the Slugs are able to step up, but as you called it, Chemtech Soul is one of the weirder ones to watch. It always feels like that indirect piece of the puzzle. We see some of those damage sources go down, and Chemtech, I believe, gives extra resistances, a little bit extra slowing resist as well. It's one that you don't feel immediately is the best way I put it. 5e for their own, though. Going ahead and clearing out some wards as Baron is going to be next on the table, 30 seconds in. A Tinwell Turtle, though, chasing out Caustic and 5e from this top side. And going to try and get this scuttle for themselves and get ready to play for the big boy temporary objective.
Okay, now with the setup from both of these teams, uOttawa kind of ran through and didn't really drop wards. Kinryu now deep into the backside. That turret is still standing. That is insane.
Yeah, well, you know who's not standing? That's 5e. 5e is gone. Another hook lands as Kinnear is going to dive underneath this tower. It's a 4v1. For the time being, we can see Karkro off on the wings, ready to help out with the rest of the team, and it's actually uOttawa very quickly looking to dive, but Kostek trying to stay alive for a little bit longer. The hook doesn't land, but you jump right into the flag and drag. Now the tower falls, and it's a 2-and-1 piece combo for Slugs, as now they start to open up the map a bit more.
I don't know if it's better or worse that the turret was up. At first I thought it was better because it looked like Kaztek was buying so much time, but that time's actually backfiring now because the death timers are desync even further than they otherwise would be. It gave Dash 0 time to push in on the bot side and actually be at that inner turret, which means less options for uOttawa to try and contest this. And now ET's got to try and make a hero play along with Karkro on that Baron side.
You know who's not making a hero play? It's Jenny. Jenny currently 1-6-4, now 1-7. We talked about the difference between the ADCs, and it seems like it's showing. That's going to be ET attempting a fight, but instead they lose their life. At least they stopped the Baron, though. But what they didn't stop is this tower push, and UCSC, you called about that clock, about that wait. uOttawa Gray lose yet another 2 plus the tower.
Can't probably stop it. He didn't definitely from tossing time. Okay. Yeah, it feels like UCSC, the clock's run out for uOttawa Gray. UCSC is now fully online at this point. They are really hard to deal with. But again, that's a pick, right? That came off of 5e and Kaztek being around that outer turret, which is a little bit bait this deep into the game. I will say ET being able to stop the Baron was actually the critical moment, or the critical thing there. If UCSC gets the Baron with the numbers advantage they have, if ET goes down or Karkro goes down trying for the Hail Mary play, that could have led into the base being broken wide open. Now, losing an inner turret kind of sucks, but your inhibitor turrets are the important thing, and as long as those are still up, there's still chances for uOttawa to play around. You've not lost all sort of map pressure. You've not given way to these supers streaming into your base.
Not just yet, at least. This is what we're going to say. It feels like those supers are going to come one way or another. Both Slugs and uOttawa Gray are more than willing to throw down, sometimes at the cost of their own life. We are going to see a sweep coming out here as Baron attempt number 2 by the Slugs is going to maybe look like a little bit better 5v5, but 5e, recognizing that maybe they're not in the right position for this. Arrow goes out, is going to land yet again into the hook, and 5e, you might be a jungler, but you're a support right now, and Serpent Shadow will slice right through you. The crit brings the slows. Now we go ahead and look down towards the bottom side as ET, 3 items deep, is ready to free fire and bring the autos. That's all you got to do is just stay alive. Charm landing on the back end, barrier pop, Serpent Shadow able to get away in this top side jungle.
And this time, uOttawa Gray feel like, no, we can't make a play on this. We're kind of going to give this up. Jenny in the mid lane pushing out. Karkro, maybe he goes for the hero steal, but I feel like even he's not really thinking about risking his life necessarily. He has the flash available. The Baron should melt decently fast. Again, Serpent Shadow doesn't have the most Baron taking ability. Nobly of the Ruin King here, and not a ton of AD.
Thing is, we've seen steals before, and we know Karkro can try. In goes ET, though. This is the charge that we want to see, and ET is going to try and step in the center, but again, the Demonic Ascension is going to do so much damage. In the backside, Karkro is brought, and that's 2 immediately falling. Slugs yet again showing their prowess. They come from the D1 aspect and say, we are going to fight here in D2 Nationals playoffs, and they are showing their micro and macro game strengths. Yet again, Jenny forced to use that cleanse, and it just feels like uOttawa Gray, nothing they can do to break through the rank and file.
Yeah, they made their choices in draft as to how they wanted to play this. They wanted to snowball, but the heat's too hot from UCSC, and all the snow has melted. UCSC with the Baron buff on all 5 members this time are going to look to be able to push in. For uOttawa, that last fight, man, it felt like the pick is the tower going down was too late, and now it feels like the engage was a little bit too early. The timing is never quite right Can you just trying to hold the wave out here as much as possible? And Kazta and 5, you have to be so careful about this.
Rotatable Turtle getting a little bit of revenge. Great Cataclysm to lock 2 in. But again, they're very easy outs. Kostek, like, okay, that's fine. But Serpent Shadow, we talked about Serpent in game number 1. You talked about the fact that the 2 items isn't really a spike. Well, guess what? You got 3.5. Serpent Shadow 7, 3, and 11. Very contrasting to Jenny's 1, 7, and 4. You have to know that uOttawa Gray are looking on the hunt, and ET looking for the flank option. They're waiting for that ult to come up here, but they're burning daylight. Down goes that tower once again. And UCSC are like, cool. You can go ahead and try that. We're going to take this entire top side because guess what's coming up in just 5 seconds?
It's Elder Dragon, and that's the one that both these teams need to fight for. That is the last big fight. If uOttawa let this one through, sure, Baron didn't necessarily break their base open, but you literally can't fight up against an Elder team. So they're looking for this. Watch for ET. He's currently sat in the mid lane, but he does have his ultimate to join this fight. Are they just going to give this up for free? Surely not.
I don't like this. I don't like the idea that you give up this dragon. It looks like it might be forced, as well as yet another engagement brings doom and gloom. uOttawa Gray without ET is going to lose their members. ET, of course, taking the time to break that inhibitor and break the base. But I don't know if it's going to be worth. You lost 2 on the back end. Now a lot of gold right back in favor of uOttawa Gray. Serpent Shadow even living straight through Kostek's damage. And they're going to push this mid and bot.
And that's the Elder being given over. ET still making his way back home. He's walking it, and now he's looking for Serpent Shadow and Kiryu. They're both kind of low in health.
Oh, Serpent Shadow just got clipped one more time, but that lantern is going to be picked up. So it is going to be at least a little bit of retribution. ET flashing away, going to be slowed up, or at least we thought. No dismount to come through, as Attainable Turtle isn't going to attain that kill. So at least some stall. ET getting revenge, being able to throw down against Serpent Shadow, who was extremely low.
Yeah, and for all that uOttawa Gray is losing right now, ET is putting on a massive show. The fact that he did actually get the inhibitor, and he actually stopped the Elder push, which shouldn't be a thing. Now, of course, there's still Elder on 4 members of UCSC. It's just how much time you burnt off by taking off their AD carry. They don't have the pushing power without the AD carry to actually take turrets right now. So UCSC, once Serpent Shadow's back on the map, they're going to need blitz this. I think, frankly, just dive the turrets at this point. You're strong enough for the 5v5, and it guarantees you at least 1 turret and potentially 1 inhibitor before you lose that buff.
I love Keon, by the way. Just like, hey, what's up, Nidalee support? You may have done well in the early game, but now Keon is a true force to be reckoned with. As we were mentioning, Serpent Shadow online, same with Keon. We were talking about this massive timer that was on the head of uOttawa Gray, and we're seeing why Slugs very happy with willing to take these fights. And as you called, just rush the base if they can. But it looks like they're more than willing to take a lot of that freestanding gold. We can see Keon now on the top side of the map being utilized as that split pusher. And it's going to be a 1-2-1 with a lurk of Attainable Turtle in between top and mid. Another hook coming out here as it lands on the Kostek. But I don't know if you really want to force a fight. Another arrow lands, though, as Serpent Shadow has that hurricane ready to fire. And now in comes from the side Jenny as well as Kostek are going to get burned. That is the Elder that you gave up in turn for an inhibitor, biting you in the backside.
And the team managed to collapse faster than I thought they would. Dasher already rotating the moment that hook came out, and because of that, UCSC going to be able to pick up the top side inner turret. They've got, what, 39 seconds before the Elder expires? They're pushing in. Can they crack an inhibitor turret right now? Can again, really low on health, but we've seen him low on health and not give a damn before.
Listen, it's not an if, it's a when. Base cracked by UCSC Black. They took down the first seed in uOttawa Garden. They're now looking to try and take down uOttawa Gray just as well. And they are going to play the safe route this time. The base completely cracked without so much as a peek from uOttawa Gray.
Are they? Part of me still expects them to play aggressively, because Kanuru doesn't seem to care that he's low on health. But the Elder buff is expiring, so they want to go back, spend that gold. Zhonya's picked up for Keon, I think is going to be a massive buy for them. With the Riftmaker already in pocket, he's just not going to die. And Dash Zero has been struggling against ET all game. He's now got 4 completed items. It's not about dealing with ET anymore. ET can only push so far, and he can't end the game in time. Dash Zero is just unkillable, and I'm looking at uOttawa Gray right now thinking, how do they win a team fight? Kaztek, I'd love to see the damage numbers after. I think it's been trying his hardest, but it's got to be down to Jenny, and Jenny right now is sat on 2.5 items. He has not completed his 3rd item yet.
It has been a struggle and a half in this situation, and especially on this Corki that was picked up, what, R2, R3 position. It's been a huge lock, and that's why we're kind of seeing it in our spotlight eyes, and it just hasn't yielded results. Of course, as you mentioned, though, Dash Zero pretty much unkillable, can get chunked out and hurt. But thanks to a typical turtle coming in here, ET ain't able to do anything and is actually going to lose their life for the time being. Another knockup, remount, but how are you getting away? There is no stopping the absolute slice here. Right now in the mid lane, a secondary fight breaking out here as it's a 3v4, but it might as well be a 5v5. Spear lands in the backside of Serpent Shadow, but the damage hasn't done. Karkaro burned, decimated, and that is the last standing gladiator falling. It is going to be a TP into the base as UCSC Black see the victory in their eyes.
And who says slugs can't go fast? They're sprinting into the base right now. Only Kaztek left alive.
At 35 minutes.
Hey, it takes time for them to grow up to that size, you know, to get to that speed. But they got there, and it's clean. And Kaztek, no Spirit Rush, no real way to even get in there and wave clear whatsoever. Slugs are playing with their food right now.
The slugs have battled and slogged, redeeming themselves in more ways than one, showing off their finals berth. They will enter into the NECC Nationals Div 2 Grand Finals in style, locking out both uOttawa Gray and Garnet to the lower bracket.
Taking out the top 2 seeds in the Nationals Division 2 tournament so far.
As a fifth seed.
Hey, you know what? UCSC, we said they played in Division 1 in spring, and I think the experience there is certainly showing. It's doubly impressive when you think about the fact that their roster is constantly changing, and this was not the roster they started with. They don't have that much time together playing as a team. And sure, you can say, oh, the hands are really, really good. But this game in particular, I do feel like it was a lot of teamwork, and the amount of cross-maps plays they were making, they weren't even the ones with the Pantheon, but with the way they're playing the arrows, you know, how much tolerance they could take with Dash Zero. I think that sort of communication, that's great teamwork, and that's scary for other teams having to face UCSC Black, because the more games they play Orbital, the more time they have to gel together and become a championship winning force.
And for me, I'm actually really looking at Serpent Shadow. Serpent Shadow came out. We were looking at the top lane. We were looking at Dash Zero. We were looking at kind of this bulk side, and Dash Zero did work. Don't get me wrong, did their job, but Serpent Shadow went above and beyond, not only on 2 really good ADCs, but on 2 dynamic ones. We talked about that Ezreal was so different in terms of the Ashe in game number 2, and yet in both games was that big carry that we wanted them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the bot lane, right? That we were talking about for UCSC. Their rock steady bot lane, Kiniru being a huge force as well with his supports. Like he was the risky guy. He was the guy who kept playing on a knife's edge, but it paid out. And I think that says a lot of why he's the captain of this team. Now, speaking of going above and beyond, our production team, thank you, Caddy, for getting us the damage numbers at the end of the game. Remember I said, I want to see how much Kaztek did, because I felt like Kaztek was doing a lot that game. He actually did the most damage that game by a long shot, 52,500 damage. In comparison, Jenny did 22,993. And on the other side for UCSC, they were doing about 40,000 for both, who was it there? It was Keon and Serpent Shadow who pumped out about 40,000 damage. So Kaztek playing his heart out for uOttawa Gray. ET playing his heart out as well on the top side. But I mean, like we said, that one was a draft issue, right? They made a choice in draft that we want to play an early game composition that can snowball to a lead. They found leads, but not enough of it to snowball. And I think they did the best they could in the situation they did. But it's going to be real interesting because they wanted to meet their sister team in the grand finals. The best they can get at this point, lower finals.
And that's going to be a rough one because at the end of the day, we got to see what they bring. And of course, for both of them, they'll be looking a little bit further. Even if they have to meet their sister team, they want revenge against UCSC Black. Congratulations to the Slugs for making it to the grand finals in such a dominating fashion as well. And of course, we're very happy to be able to showcase those talents, and not just in League of Legends, but further on as well, as there's going to be more NECC action across the board tomorrow as well as Thursday and Friday. Tomorrow will be Rainbow Six Siege. Rocket League will be on Thursday, and Overwatch 2 on Friday. That will conclude our broadcast here tonight of the League of Legends Div 2 national side of things for NECC. And while we're at it, I want to give a big shout out to Wenzel and G-Fuel for, of course, Wenzel's Farm Snack Sticks. No mess, no distractions, just bold protein pack flavor to keep you locked in. Whether you're grinding ranked or leading the squad, Wenzel's keeps you powered up. Grab a stick, stay in the game, and crush the competition. Wenzel's Farm, fuel for gamers, flavor for champions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Shout out to our production on the side, Chippy and Cat. Patty, running an amazing show, giving us all of the beautiful bird's eyes views. And of course, from myself and RMC here on the desk, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
What do you make of this up here? Just showed up in the yard a couple days
Is a
ago.
dog been digging in there?
I don't think so, dude. That goes way down in there. Seriously, did you just lose your meat stick?
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's something in there, dude. Just leave it.
Are you kidding me?
We'll just head to the house. Just leave it.
Hell with that.
Ah, yeah, there's something in there. Ah!
Want one?
Thank you.
It was worth it.